What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, coming through once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming for you guys live today over on our YouTube page, as well as Facebook. And you can also catch us over on Twitch, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on another Sunday afternoon as we're set to go ahead and get into the hottest topics this week to make sure that you guys are certainly caught up with everything that's certainly going on in the news. And you guys know how we do around here. We got some honorable mentions, some things right off the top that we feel you certainly should need to know, but didn't quite necessarily make the cut for our 6 main topics that we're going to be getting into today. And then, of course, at the end of this week's episode, we'll be getting to your live viewer questions, guys. So thank you very much, each and every one of you, for continuing to join us each and every week. And listen, while we certainly discuss these topics and definitely give our thoughts, remember, at the end of the day, these are just our A-plus opinions. We definitely want to go ahead and know yours. So feel free to let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this video airs in regards to any of these particular topics. And we'll definitely go ahead and continue to discuss those matters as the week goes through. But it's not just myself. Oh, no. While we still don't have a full crew here, man, everybody's schedule is just all over the place. We do at least have Mr. Stuart Branscombe certainly joining us today. What's good, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to see you. Is that a Nintendo 64 on your shelf in the back?
It is.
Oh.
You have a very keen eye, sir. Yeah, I've got my Super Mario 64 cartridge inside. I couldn't find my Wave Racer, but I'll take it.
Awesome. That was going to be my next question. What game is that inside?
Yeah, my brother, before he moved to Japan, he couldn't take everything necessarily with him. So I'm actually the owner right now of a lot of our older gaming consoles. I think I still have a box that has my GameCube in it. I think it's still got like 1 or 2 different versions of like a PS, a PlayStation in there somewhere, sort of thing. I may have to pull them out and start decorating the living room and start hooking it all up to the big screen TV at some point, play some retro gaming.
Hell yeah, dude. That was like the first thing I did when I got this apartment because, for the longest time, I had like all these consoles that I had bought in after I got my first job in high school. I had like this just addiction of just like every paycheck. Okay, I'm going to get myself an NES now. Okay, now I'll take a Genesis. And I was just, but I never really had like a place to display all of them until like recently. So after we got this apartment, the first thing like I'm just kind of like is no, we're gonna make sure we're gonna have all the consoles together. We're gonna make sure they're all there, and we're gonna have like a way to hook them up to the TV so that way if we ever want to access them, we'll be able to. I haven't done that part yet because I'm trying to think of a safe way to do it that wouldn't make a fire hazard, but at some point in the future, my goal is to have them all hooked up to one TV, and then just that way I can like switch between consoles if I ever feel like using one of the retro consoles.
Yeah, my boy Manny managed to do that at his household. In his room, he's got a big screen TV and he's got a TV cabinet that literally has like all his consoles displayed and whatever he wants to play. I think he's got maybe like multiple switches that he can switch over to activate whatever HDMI or whatever audio he's certainly, cables that he's certainly using. So it's a great setup. But I haven't gotten that bold yet, but I decided to go ahead and put it out as a nice little display piece there because I did love me my N64 back in the day.
Hell yeah.
Good to see you, man. Thank you very much for certainly coming through. If anything, the unfortunate news, Stuart, as of yesterday, I don't know if you heard the news, but we did officially conclude A+ More Phenomenal in regards to its weekly show. And so I'm hoping that within the next week or two, we can really get back to the idea of a midweek show. I know you and Indy wind up doing it the previous week, but maybe starting this week or maybe the next week, now that I definitely have more time on my plate, maybe we'll start definitely buckling down on that midweek show. So a lot of big changes definitely coming here to A+ Hero Report, guys. So we always appreciate your continued support. Who we got in the live chat, though? I know we got a lot of people in the live chat, some stragglers over from A+ More Phenomenal, maybe some new people that have never been a part of this particular YouTube page before. Give me a second. Okay, I'll just make sometimes, Stuart, YouTube likes to remove comments if it takes too long for you to get to them. So sometimes that worries me. But I think I got everybody here. We got good old Coder Nerd coming through, says this is his first A+ Hero Report show. Well, thank you very much, Coder Nerd. I appreciate you coming through. Francois from France, since we are international superstars here. Good old Nicole Robertson in the house. Who else we got? Michael Rhymes in here. Jericho, the most talented man alive. I suck my own balls is in the house. Jackson Peterson is here. Chris Cross is here. One of these days, Stuart, we got to rock our clothes backwards just for Chris over there. Adam Perea is in the house. We got good old Carter Matthews. Jack Daniels in the house as always. Kurt Marino certainly coming through. Morgan here as well. I'm telling you, man, it's a lot of carryover from More Phenomenal. So I appreciate it, guys. John Schuyler's here. Sexy Mofo, which is AJ, as we think we all know. We got Roberto in the house. Good old Carlo is here. Ibase today, along with Enrique. One of my favorite girls out here, Datilla. What's up, Datilla? Good to see you as always. Tony Robinson certainly coming through. Looks like AJ's double dipping with his Tarek as well. And I think that's everybody. Oh, a good old Marcelino Vasquez in the house. Thank you very much, man. This episode would not be complete without a Marcelino sighting somewhere.
I gotta say, we have something in common because I also have Jack Daniels in my house as well.
You know, I actually drunk a Modelo yesterday on the air for A Plus More Phenomenal to do a little cheers and farewell. I was literally drinking at like noon. It was fantastic. It's fantastic.
Sounds like a good day.
It was definitely.
I haven't checked out your last A Plus More Phenomenal, but I assume like you reviewed the last episode of season 1 for Dino Fury.
Yeah. Yes. We did go ahead and review it. We didn't do that one last week. I think that was the week before where we wrapped up Dino Fury. Yesterday was more just news, and then just really devoting it to live viewer questions. I literally went through like 50 emails, Stuart. I'm not even gonna lie.
Wow.
Maybe 36. I might have been pushing 36 emails, but I killed all the More Phenomenal questions, and we were behind by like 2-3 weeks, man. So it was a good time. Good time yesterday.
Nice.
Tarek says I made him tear up. Yeah, man, I had a little bit of some tearing action yesterday evening in my farewell message towards the end of my video. But yes, good old Escaroma in here as well. And yeah, we need that Coffee University around here at A Plus Hero Report to go ahead and make our Sundays start off on the right foot. And speaking of starting on the right foot, Stuart, let's go ahead and get into these honorable mentions, man. Again, some topics that maybe we didn't quite necessarily make the cut for our main topics. But you got any honorable mentions you want to drop and talk about today?
I got two, or I technically got three, but I'll do the first two extremely fast. Okay, so I saw parts of The Boys season 3. So basically, I started it a couple days ago, but unfortunately, I started it when I was extremely tired. So I basically fell asleep after like 20 minutes into the
That's
first
me
episode.
on the daily. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'll say this, dude, The Boys pushes what you can show on I mean, I guess with it being on Amazon, maybe there isn't a limit of what they're allowed to show, but wow, my mind was kind of blown.
Really?
Let's just say that I didn't think what they showed in The Boys was something that they would have allowed on any like streaming service.
Really?
Yeah, they show it and I'm kind of blown away by it, and it was hilarious and just like, oh my god. Yeah, I can't say anymore because I don't want to spoil it.
All right, I'll definitely check it out.
But let me put it this way. You think you know where it's going and you think it's going to be raunchy as it is, but then it goes even worse than you expect.
Okay. It is on my list to watch. Me and the girlfriend are trying to finish up Stranger Things. I think we got 2 more episodes, and then we're jumping into The Boys.
And that was my second thing I was going to bring up. Stranger Things. So I like it. Very slow burn, but I think the payoff is great. That said, I think a movie length episodes is just too much if you're doing it for an entire season. I'm glad this show tried it out, but I really hope no other shows do this in the future, especially if it's more than 6 episodes, but like my actual honorable mention though, goes to Warner Brothers. And I guess like honorable is probably the wrong word because recently they kind of made it clear that they have no intention of firing Ezra anytime soon. I guess they did some what do you call it, like pre-screenings of Flashpoint, and the reception was extremely positive, like better than they expected. So it's like on one hand, cool, we know we got a good movie to look forward to. On the other hand, I don't like that it seems like Ezra is getting off scot-free. So
I mean, we kind of talked about that, Stuart, right? The idea that, I mean, that's kind of the direction we kind of felt that it was going. I mean, we talked about it at CinemaCon when they showed the trailer there. People absolutely loved and had a really great reception towards it. And that was literally like a week or two out from the Ezra Miller stuff, and people still reacted really positively to it. So I think that really just gives WB sort of the all clear that the general public is going to accept this movie regardless. Like there may be a lot of Twitter warriors out there hitting them keyboards with the way that they feel about the whole Ezra Miller situation, but Warner Brothers is just they know that people are going to come out and see this movie, and with the movie not set to release until June of next year, yeah, they definitely going to feel pretty confident about it and probably not hold Ezra Miller accountable for anything, bro. It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
What's your third one?
Oh, that was my third
Oh,
one.
that
The
was your
first
third.
two
Oh,
was
the
Stranger
Stranger
Things
Things
and
and Boys. Okay, I thought.
Yeah,
okay,
my third
cool,
one
cool.
was the Ezra Miller thing, because like that actually seems, yeah, and it's like I can't say I'm surprised, because we did talk about this when we talked about CinemaCon, but it's still just it's still depressing.
I will say this. There's still a chance that he could be gone from WB. As the Flash. I still do think that maybe Warner Brothers would be open to still doing that, but maybe not necessarily announcing it until maybe after the Flash movie. I still don't even know if they are going to be making any changes. It doesn't sound like they're going to be making any changes, especially if the reception has been pretty well. So there's a part of me that wants to hope that maybe Warner Brothers still lets go of Ezra Miller, considering he's a liability at this point. But I don't think if they do, I don't think they'll announce anything like that, at least until the Flash movie drops. But we'll
I
see.
can see that.
But we'll see. Couple quick honorable mentions for you guys. Also, listen, right around the corner, we've got ourselves the Miss Marvel series that's going to be dropping for you guys here. And just to kind of give you guys a heads up, beginning this week, because I believe Miss Marvel drops on the 8th, if I'm not mistaken. So what's that? This upcoming Wednesday. Good old Stuart and Indy will in fact be doing reviews for Miss Marvel. So if you guys want to go ahead and check out our Miss Marvel reviews, they are going to be recording it, I believe, on Wednesdays. And then dropping them for you guys Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Central Time. So we are, in fact, setting up a time for our Miss Marvel reviews. So you can definitely expect them every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. So we're getting into it, man. We also got ourselves some brand new character posters that wind up dropping as well. I don't know who half these characters are. I think they maybe have like 9 or 10 different posters. I know one person in this poster, and that is, in fact, Kamala Khan herself. But I will say this. I love the aesthetics of this series. The bright colors, everything really works for me. The Pakistani or Muslim accents and things like that, it absolutely works and just pops off the screen for me. And I really hope that they have some fun with it when it comes to like just the post-production work of Miss Marvel. But I think we're on to something pretty special and kind of fun here, Stuart. So yeah, definitely expect Stuart and Indy for their reviews. And I guess based off of their schedule, if maybe one of them can't make it for the review, maybe the other one can certainly pick up for the other one and make sure that we still have an episode review for you guys. But how excited are you, Stuart, for Miss Marvel?
Oh, I'm extremely excited. What I love about these character posters is that they're so colorful. Like you can almost get an idea of all of their personalities just by looking at like the posters alone.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. But yeah, so they did drop these this week to go ahead and get us hyped. There's a part of me that's hoping that maybe we get more posters or at least maybe another brief sort of teaser before we get into Miss Marvel. But regardless, this show will be here beginning June 8th. And then you can expect our reviews starting June 9th. Again, reviews premiere Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And also a quick reminder, too, if you guys are big Star Wars fans, we are doing live reviews for Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're doing live reviews on Thursday as well. But a good old 2 hours after Miss Marvel drops, certainly join me at 1 p.m. Central Time for our Obi-Wan Kenobi reviews. How have you been liking this series so far, Stuart?
Dude, I've been loving it so far. It's basically everything I wanted to see in the Obi-Wan series. I think the only thing that could possibly make it better, that I know they're probably not going to do, is I do hope we get at least one final shot with Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, but looking a lot more like Ben Kenobi. So like with the gray hair and everything. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think it would look really cool because he and I always forget the other guy's name, the guy that played Ben. They look similar enough to where it's
Alec
like
Guinness.
Oh, Alec
Alan
Guinness,
Giddix.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like they look similar enough to where you just, put a little old makeup on him and he'd be perfect.
Well, shit, the stress of this adventure alone for Obi-Wan will make those gray hairs come out for sure.
I'm
This
sure
is
we're gonna get a joke about that at the very end. Like he's
yeah,
gonna
maybe.
pluck a hair out and be like, "Is that a gray hair?"
I would love to see that. But yeah, man, they episode 3 certainly came out of the gate swinging, and I've absolutely loved this series so far. I do have my hiccups with maybe some of the writing here or there, but it really hasn't been able to be enough to really take me out of pure enjoyment of this show. If anything, I really feel the weight of this limited series in the sense of understanding that when it comes to legacy characters, when you talk about like the trilogy movies and stuff, I feel like this is probably as impactful of a limited series when it comes to Star Wars that we've probably ever had in regards to really its impact on canon and how it really gives us a better insight of the future of these characters kind of going forward. So when I watch this show, I do feel the weight. It feels like this story needs to succeed. You know what I mean? Like it needs to be
Mhm.
really good because that's the last thing you want is to hinder these legacy characters whatsoever. But I do think George would be happy. I think George Lucas
Oh
would be
yeah,
happy.
that's actually this is the number one show I would love to hear George Lucas's opinion on.
Yeah,
Like
me too.
Mandalorian and Boba Fett, like I don't really care too much what he thinks about it. I'm sure he likes them just fine, but this is the show where
This
it's
is yeah.
like I really want to hear what he has to say about it.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree. And then let's see here. We also wind up getting Black Adam posters. The Rock has been teasing that we're going to be getting ourselves a Black Adam trailer this week,
Yes.
I believe, also on Wednesday. So look out for that. But in response to teasing us about his upcoming trailer for Black Adam, he did go ahead and release some brand new promotional artwork for us to go ahead and certainly check out to go ahead and get hyped for this movie. And I'm really looking forward to it, man. You know me, Stuart, the JSA. Look, I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I can't wait to see what he does as Black Adam. But it's really the JSA that I think is capturing my imagination and attention to kind of see how they visually look and just storyline wise how they really fit into the grand scheme of things. But I'm loving what we're seeing here just from the promotional work alone. It's an interesting choice of JSA members, at least for me, when it comes to what is it, the Maxima character. I just remember her briefly from, I don't know why the Maxima character stands out to me only in like the Death of Superman comic books that I remember reading. I used to have like a paperback collection of all the parts of the Death of Superman back in the day from the 90s, and she was briefly in one of the stories as a member of the Justice League trying to help stop Doomsday. I think she died, and I think she wound up dying in
Yeah.
there. So the choice of using her along with Adam Smasher was definitely an interesting one to me. But I can't wait to see these characters brought to life, and I hope that they are leave a lasting impression to where, despite the changes that are happening, that they kind of stick around. But what do you think about the artwork here, Stuart?
Artwork's great, and then I love the costume designs, and I
I love
think
this photo.
even though we get some cool glimpses in the trailers, I think this artwork really kind of gives us a bigger idea of what we can expect them to look like in the movie. And yeah, man, I'm just so hyped for this movie. Honestly, this is probably the number one Dwayne Johnson movie where I'm actually like, not only am I rooting for him, I genuinely think this is going to be a lot different from other Dwayne Johnson movies of the past. I remember when I was doing the live viewer questions on Monday, someone was like kind of bringing up that they weren't the biggest fan of him, and like a lot of his movies feel very samey. And I totally get where you're coming from, but I really think this is going to be different. And the other thing I really hope from this movie is, obviously, I think it's safe to say you and I both want a JSA spinoff from this. I
Oh,
want this
definitely.
movie to make the audience want a JSA spinoff.
Oh, yes, I would love that. I would definitely eat that up too. I mean, considering, look, where we're at with the changes when it comes to Warner Brothers, if you're feeling some type of way about what to do with, say, like the Justice League characters, or you still want to play it out, give me a good old period piece again of maybe the JSA, or the idea of maybe a more modern day JSA. I would totally take that, Stuart, if you want to go ahead and create another group. I mean, considering that they were like the first superhero team in DC timeline wise, right? I mean, it kind of fits the idea of maybe starting off or at least introducing them at some point in time in their own film. So yeah, I do hope that this allows us to want to certainly have one at some point in time. But yeah, the trailer for Black Adam will be dropping June 8th. June 8th is going to be a big day, man. We got the Black Adam trailer. If that's a Wednesday, that's also Obi-Wan Kenobi Day. And we're also getting ourselves Miss Marvel. That's gonna be a great day, man. Great day.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen sorry, it's the first time I've seen Disney Plus airing both a Marvel and a Star Wars show together. I guess because it's like the tail end of Obi-Wan, they're doing it kind of as a test to see if like they'll both still have good viewerships rather than one having more than the other. But yeah, I guess that's something we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I guess with just all the content they've got coming out, at some point in time, things are going to have to lapse over each other. But you would think, I would think like Marvel would have a Wednesday, Star Wars would have a Thursday sort of thing release schedule. You know what I mean? But I guess not. But we'll see. And then last but not least, Stuart, we'll go over this briefly. Pinocchio. Disney's Pinocchio. We're getting ourselves a live action remake of the film. This past week, they just went ahead and dropped the brand new trailer that showcased Tom Hanks as good old Geppetto himself. We got the opportunity to see some really great things in the trailer here. But this movie is going to be coming out to Disney Plus. What is the release date on that? Does that say September 8th, I believe, only on Disney Plus? But we did get ourselves our brand new trailer for it. Stuart, have you had the opportunity to check out the trailer by any chance?
I did, and kind of looks like a generic live action Disney movie. I think I'm honestly more excited for the Netflix version.
Really? Was that the Guillermo del Toro one?
Yeah, that's the one I think I'm a little bit more excited for because knowing that he's behind it, I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be superior to the Disney version, honestly. But we'll see.
I will say, I think that they'll probably be on par. And I will say this, just from the trailer alone, shout out to Disney for at least bringing sort of like the talking animals back. Because I will say this, I went into the movies to go see Dumbo, and there wasn't one talking elephant in that whole movie. I was so mad. Yeah. I was so mad. So I like the idea that they're introducing animals that can talk, mixing it in there with the live action. Tom Hanks certainly always delivers. I'm waiting for the pushback for people of whitewashing Hollywood. Like he's Tom Hanks is an Italian. Why is he out here trying to perform Geppetto? We can't find some Italian actors in Hollywood. I mean, look, it's Tom Hanks. I don't care. He could probably get away with murder for all we know. But for me, the fact of Tom Hanks being in this movie and also Robert Zemeckis being attached to this as the director for it, I think they make magic together, if you ask me. I think anytime Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis are together, I'm definitely there for it. I think they did the Polar Express movie also for Christmas. And for some people, that's become a classic when it comes to Christmas. For some people, not necessarily the biggest fan, but it's definitely something that has grown on me. But I believe in the magic that Robert and Tom Hanks can certainly put together. And just based off of the cast that we've seen so far from the Pinocchio casting, I think we might have something pretty good on our hands. Not to take anything away from Del Toro, because we know his imagination is something else and unique in and of itself. But I think Disney will get this one. I think they'll knock this one out of the park. At least I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it with an open mind. Even though I sound super negative now, I'm obviously going to go into it with an open mind. And who knows, maybe this will be the live action Disney movie that finally wins me over.
Absolutely, man. We'll see. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you too. So that will wrap up our honorable mentions. And listen, guys, we are going to get into our main 6 topics for you. But before we do, just remember, we always do take live viewer questions, which we'll get to towards the end of the episode. Again, that's aplusopinions@gmail.com. If you want to go ahead and submit a question over, aplusopinions@gmail.com. What I would certainly recommend at this point, since our numbers continue to grow and we do get to are getting a plethora of live viewer questions, we are probably going to have to change the format here as well. So 1 email per person per week, 1 question per person per week, beginning today, as of June 5th, going forward, at least as of June 5th, going forward, 1 email a week and 1 question a week in regards to that email that you submit over, because it's just a lot of emails these days, guys. A lot of emails these days. We appreciate your support, trust me, but we definitely have to do some tweaking. So feel free to submit them over at any time. The aplusopinions@gmail.com. And Stuart, was it you that mentioned the idea of maybe having people submit their questions over to the community tab?
Yeah, I was like thinking just I think it'd just be easier to keep them all organized and just like keep track of which live viewer questions are for which week also. Because I remember when we did the original channel A plus opinions, that's how we did it. And I don't know. I always thought that was a
Does
really
work
good
that way?
format.
Okay, well, all right, we'll see. Maybe if anything, let's catch up to the live viewer questions we have in the emails first, and then once we clear those out and we're back on track, then maybe we'll move things over to the community tab. But that might be a good idea, and it might give us an opportunity to do what you guys did too in bringing up the questions on the screen for us to maybe be able to read too. So we'll look into that. We'll look into that. But Stuart, you know what time it is, man. You ready to go ahead and get into some live viewer questions with me, bro?
You mean the topics first?
That's exactly what I meant.
I'm like, I think we got some topics.
So I was looking at the live chat to see what everybody was saying in there. But yes, our main topic. So you ready to go ahead and tackle these with me?
Always.
Let's do this, man. Listen, we got some big news this week in regards to you Warner Brothers and DC fans out there. We've been talking over the past several weeks in regards to the new CEO, good old David Zaslav, taking over as the Warner Brothers and Discovery merger is in fact complete. Over the past couple of weeks, we've also been announcing since that merger happened. A lot of cuts have definitely happened to some content or some projects that were in development that maybe was not in front of the camera as of yet, as David Zaslav and the new head honchos over there are trying to cut at least about $3 billion in spending over at Warner Brothers Discovery. So anything's on the table right now of not getting the opportunity to hit the small screen or big screen. So a lot of changes are definitely happening when it comes to Warner Brothers Discovery. And with everything that's been going on, we've been kind of hoping that maybe sooner or later someone would tell us what the plan is in regards to the new direction that Warner Brothers may be taking, whether that be in regards to its films, its DC properties, its animation, whatever the case certainly may be. We have definitely been wanting to know what David Zaslav's plan is for Warner Brothers. And guys, today is the day. So maybe we have some clarity here and maybe some hope that DC and Warner Brothers will eventually be able to find their footing. So let's go ahead and dive into this, Stuart, because this is pretty interesting here, man. We got some names that we're going to be throwing around for you guys, some big management executive names sort of thing. So certainly bear with us because some of these names are certainly quite important and certainly will have an impact going forward. And Stuart, I'm pretty sure you recognize some of these names as well. But let's go ahead and dive into this. I will actually start off with this Hollywood Reporter article that we have here. This was an exclusive that I think dropped in the beginning of the week. But David Zaslav has officially outlined Warner Brothers film overhaul. He actually wind up sending out a memo to everybody over at Warner Brothers Discovery to let them know not only the plans that he has, but he's putting some new people in charge as well. So this is from the Hollywood Reporter. It says Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi reached deal to lead the Warner Brother film division. So it says the MGM veterans will run Warner's and New Line while temporarily overseeing DC as David Zaslav searches for a new chief. It says Warner Brothers Discovery Film Studio management structure is taking shape. Sources with knowledge of the matter tell Hollywood Reporter that the executive team of Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdi have reached a deal to run Warner Brothers and New Line as soon as Amazon releases them from their contracts at MGM. Toby Emmerich, who has been running Warner's and New Line Cinema since 2017, will exit that role, but received a production deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. And Toby Emmerich's kind of been in the news, maybe not necessarily in the brightest of news. I believe if you've heard the name Toby Emmerich recently, it's probably been, I think, from all the Ray Fisher and stuff, that all that drama that was certainly happening as he was going after Emmerich along with Walter Hamada. So it seems as though he will be exiting that particular role. He says, I have no doubt that he will deliver even more exceptional one-of-a-kind stories in his new capacity, and I look forward to continuing our working relationship for many years, is what David Zaslav wind up saying about Toby Emmerich. It says after DeLuca and Abdi depart MGM, their direct reports will report to. Hold on, I'm gonna gloss over some of this. It says Zaslav's strategy as he shapes the company is to create three verticals, Stuart. He says each with its own leadership. So he's trying to create three different verticals right now. You're going to have the Warner Brothers new line, which will in fact be under DeLuca and Abdi. I'm assuming that's going to probably be more along the film side of things. Then he wants to create one for DC as well as for animation. DC Films president Walter Hamada will report to DeLuca and Abdi until new leadership is identified. So Walter Hamada right now is working on borrowed time, it seems like. While DeLuca and Abdi will be running the Warner Brothers new line side of things, as of right now, Walter Hamada is reporting to them still in regards to DC Films until Zaslav finds a replacement for Walter Hamada. And it also says the head of the animation vertical has yet to be named. Zaslav's intention is to model Warner's after the system that former Disney CEO Bob Iger implemented at that studio, with the verticals reporting directly to him. Zaslav has talked to former Disney studio chairman Alan Horn about serving as an advisor in designing the vertical's approach for overseeing Warner Brothers Films executive structure. Zaslav consulted not only with Horn, but with Iger. So the structure at Warner Brothers is already changing. Zaslav is already understanding, looking over at Marvel, looking across the street over at Disney. Hey, you know what they have is actually kind of working. Why didn't we do this years ago? Now he's coming in and deciding to go ahead and build the structure that Disney has for their production studios, and is doing that now here with Warner Brothers. So he's talked to Alan Horn, who's been a Disney who's worked at Disney studio chairman before. He's talked with Bob Iger, and he's really trying to create this. So a film side, a DC side, an animation side, all with their own individual leaders, but all reporting to Zaslav. What do you think about that so far, Stuart, in regards to his plan?
On paper, I think everything he's saying sounds really good. That said, the biggest concern that I have, and then I think like a lot of people have also, is that ever since Discovery basically and the Warner Brothers merger happened, a lot of scripted television has been getting canceled, including some really successful ones. I just heard recently that apparently Raised by Wolves got canceled off of Netflix, or not Netflix, sorry, HBO Max. So my biggest concern is that Discovery really doesn't seem interested in scripted television, maybe scripted movies, but not really scripted television. So I feel like this might lead to like kind of the beginning of just kind of like HBO Max turning into just kind of another Discovery, where it just becomes like all their top shows are all kind of reality shows. And I'm not trying to say like reality shows are necessarily bad. It's just not my preferred format when it comes to watching television shows. And Discovery is known for a lot of reality type shows. So that's kind of my biggest concern, especially with them even mentioning in that same article that they want to have like a $3 billion budget cut. Now, the structure and management that he wants to do it sounds really good on paper, the way he's describing it. So it really kind of comes down to like, after he's made all these big changes like already, is this going to be the end of it? And then going forward, it's going to be like kind of a fresh start where now scripted television will come back to Warner Brothers? Or is it going to be, more or less, if it doesn't fit his vision of like kind of the cheaper, easier to produce kind of television, if we're not going to see it anymore? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's always going to be a place for scripted TV. I mean, everything that he said has implied that he understands the importance of at least the DC characters and their need to succeed in order for Warner Brothers to continue to be successful. So I do think that there will always be some levels of scripted television, certainly still on HBO Max. With the $3 billion budget cut, you mentioned something like Raised by Wolves. I watched the first season of that. there was something really unique and interesting enough about it to get me hooked to keep coming back weekly to check out the first season, but I wasn't necessarily writing home about it either. So I don't necessarily know. I mean, maybe it was one of their stronger shows. I'm not quite sure, but I can tell you, Ridley Scott loves his money and he loves putting together big budgeted sort of productions. You know what I mean? When it comes to putting together a show. So I do wonder if it's not necessarily so much the ratings, so much as it is, hey, we're paying you way too much money to put this kind of show together. It looked great, don't get me wrong, but I do wonder if you felt the cost sort of outweighed the viewership numbers that might have certainly been coming back. I feel like that's probably more of what it is than the idea of like, we just don't want scripted television. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's probably, I feel like Raised by Wolves was more of a budget cut thing, but
It
that could
might
just
have
be.
been, but like it wasn't. But like Raised by Wolves wasn't like it was just the first example I could think of. But there were like a lot of other shows, whether if they were like on Warner Brother like kind of channels. Like we kind of saw a little bit of it with the CW, but I feel like that might have been more CW decisions than it was Discovery. But like on other channels, we see like a lot of scripted television that gets decent, not like super high ratings, but the decent kind of ratings, and those are all getting canceled as well. So I'm not sure if it's like their idea is that cable network shows may only be reality shows and like HBO Max gets the scripted television. I'm not sure. But, regardless, it's kind of the major budget cuts that really have me concerned.
And I do wonder too if it's a case of they're cutting things because they're realizing like, do people really want to see half the shit, guys? Like we're just putting our money towards things that people probably don't even want to see. So like let's act some of this content, and if we are going to create more scripted content, let's maybe create better ones, or at least focus on other characters and themes and things like that people will certainly gravitate to. But going further into the article, though, let me go ahead and pull this back up here. There we go. It does say sorting out DC remains a major challenge for Zaslav. It says sources say that he has asked Todd Phillips, the multi-hyphenate. I've never even heard that word before. Who created a dark 2019 billion-dollar grosser, The Joker, to do more in the DC universe, potentially acting as an advisor, though he will not serve in an executive capacity. A knowledgeable source says that Phillips and Zaslav have discovered a rapport, though Phillips is not an expert on the broader DC universe. While at Disney's own Marvel, Chief Executive Officer Kevin Feige oversees films, television, animation, and publishing, there has been no single voice guiding DC. DC's Chief Hamada oversees the film universe based on the company's characters, including its HBO Max spin-offs. DC properties are only loosely connected and sometimes take place in an entire separate universe, such as the Oscar-winning Joker and Matt Reeves' Batman. As a veteran of both Disney and Warner, Alan Horn has refrained from working out a formal agreement until Zaslav sets his executive team. Horn did not want to involve himself early due to his relationships with various multiple players or potential players in the mix. His possible return to Warner's, there's no commitment on either side at this point, would be something of a full circle moment, as he left the studio in 2011 amid corporate shuffling there. In a similar vein, DeLuca was fired as president of New Line back in 2001, and now he's there as well. So I do find this interesting here. Like, for me, at least, for somebody that has wanted to see Warner Brothers kind of get things on track a little bit more, if you will. For me, this kind of does give me hope. I mean, the idea that he's smart enough to understand and see the failings of where Warner Brothers has kind of fallen, and decided to go ahead and make things maybe a little bit easier to kind of navigate. Sometimes the idea of too many cooks in the kitchen really is a real thing. And I think by creating verticals where you have people in charge of these particular departments and then they come to you, I think will probably make it a lot easier and a lot better for these people to be a little bit more creative, and not have so many hands messing around with things that don't necessarily need to be messed around with. So the fact that Zaslav is smart enough to want to make these changes and go to people that have helped make other companies rather successful. I think the idea of having Alan Horn, even if he is just a consultant right now, is a genius on Zaslav's part, because he knows how Marvel Studios has certainly worked. And if there's anybody that I certainly want talking in Zaslav's ear, it's somebody that knows not only what they're doing, but has helped build a cinematic universe already. And I do find it interesting in regards to Todd Phillips being a part of it, because of the fact that while yes, he may not necessarily know the greater scheme of the DC universe, what Todd Phillips does know is making movies. And I think if you can bring somebody in like that to listen to, along with somebody like an Alan Horn, and again, these are just consultants, right? Like these aren't even the people that he's fully hired to be in that position to oversee DC as of right now. They're still certainly looking for that particular man. Could it be Alan Horn at some point in time? Maybe. But for me, this does give me some level of encouragement that while they are doing budget cuts, cutting out $3 billion, the point of this will then be to hopefully streamline things a little bit easier, clean things up in your company, and have a much more focused trajectory that you want, not only for your movie side of things, but for your DC properties and animation. So I think he's got some good people talking in his ear. And I think the what impresses me is knowing that Zaslav understands he's not the smartest person in the room, and that he surrounds himself with people that have done this before and have been successful. And Zaslav's nothing to sneeze at himself. I mean, considering the fact that his discovery and everything have really truly taken off, he's been doing pretty well himself, even in the unscripted area. But this kind of gives me hope a little bit, Stuart, that the people you're listening to are the people that I certainly would like him to listen to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess in a way you could say this is kind of like a big control burn in a way, like with a lot of the shows kind of being scrapped, but hopefully it leads to essentially like, what we get out of it, is going to be something a lot more controlled, something a lot more organized. And like you kind of said, if he recognizes what his strengths and weaknesses are, hopefully he's open-minded enough to listen to the people working with him who, and open enough to like listen to some of the ideas that they have to say. And the big thing too is I hope he doesn't try, with DC. As much as I love the idea of them, going into a more Marvel direction with kind of like planning out crossovers and just like, other things going forward. I also hope he doesn't try to like kind of reshape what we already know about the DC universe, completely changing it, because then it would just feel a little bit too much. But again, like you kind of mentioned, he has smarter people like whispering into his ear, and it all kind of will depend on if he's humble enough to take the advice of those he's hired, if he trusts the people that he's hired enough. So yeah.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think this is a case of, hey, we need to turn all our movies into Marvel films now. I think it's just a case of from a business standpoint, as far as like the building blocks to making your company successful and easier and more streamlined to produce these movies. I think he's putting the pieces certainly in place to make that successful, not necessarily coming in and having these people say, yeah, you need to make more more Marvel like movies, so much as just taking the business formula of things and using that to your advantage. And I think that will hopefully put them on a much better course, so they can understand what it is that they certainly want to create. Because I do think that Warner Brothers will stick into, we haven't really had a lot of connective tissues. I don't really see, well, who knows if they're going to end up doing like big crossover events or whatever the case may be. They haven't really mentioned that, but it feels like Warner Brothers has already been doing sort of those individual movies, not really making movies that connect to the bigger picture of anything as of right now. And maybe that could be Zaslav's perspective on how he wants to treat things for as of right now. So again, I don't expect Warner Brothers to become Marvel overnight, but I do think at least taking their business formula that has worked and making it your own, I think that's a smart strategy.
Yeah. And also, I am kind of relieved to hear that they're keeping Todd Phillips around, because like I do think he's a director with many talents in the terms of like we've seen
Oh
that he
yeah.
can do drama really well with the Joker. But also, if they ever do decide to kind of go back to the either the Wonder Twins movie idea, like where they had the idea of doing it as a comedy, or I feel like there's a lot of characters within the DC universe you could make like a total comedy out of. I feel like Todd Phillips would also be a really good director for that type of a storytelling as well.
Yeah, because he did what, The Hangover, I think, and some
Yeah.
other movies. So it's really hard. It's like I don't want to say it's hard to imagine, but it's crazy to think that the person that did The Hangover also did Joker, right? It just shows you the different type of styles that these directors and writers have, man. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, guys, go ahead and let us know your thoughts in regards to this. How do you feel about Zaslav's plan here to go ahead and create 3 different verticals and have executives really in charge of each of them to report back to them? Do you think that this will help bolster their film side of things, their DC properties, along with their animation side? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And I would like to also know what of upcoming Warner Brothers properties or projects that you know that have been announced that you're really hoping that does not get cut. I am really curious if there's any project out there that you guys really want to see that you hope that Zaslav doesn't go ahead and chop down at the ankles. So definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. Good old Carter does ask, hey, when does Black Adam come out? I believe this is October, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's October, and then I think Shazam is in December. If you want to double check that for me, Stuart.
Yeah, with them being released really close together, I'm expecting at least one of them to have like a post-credit scene that like kind of teases a crossover between the two of them. Uh, where is it? October 21st.
October 21st. So there you go. Black Adam, October 21st. Facebook user, I wonder why it doesn't show up their picture and name. It says, hey guys, Todd Phillips would be great. Yeah, I think he's a great voice to certainly listen to. I don't think he's going to be helming the DC property side of things. I will be curious to see who they actually pick up to do that. But I do think him, along with Alan Horn, are great voices to certainly hear from. And I think Kevin Feige would probably agree as well. Encoder Nerd says, why not? Marvel is getting that $1 billion movie. Best way to copy, especially for Superman movies. Yeah, again, I don't necessarily see Warner Brothers copying Marvel in regards to the type of movies that they're creating, but definitely the business format for sure.
And what I meant is like at this point, DC wouldn't be able to do like kind of the phase 1, 2, and 3 thing that Marvel has done, because they've already fully established their universe at this point. So what I mean is like you wouldn't be able to like build the universe because it's already been built. So they have to kind of right now which they're already kind of doing, which I actually really like. They're kind of taking it in the same direction that Marvel's been taking it with phase 4. It's just they took a very different path to get there, but essentially it feels like Marvel and DC are currently at the same place right now. It's just
well, I'm glad you think so. I think DC is still way behind. Like, come on, bro, you got some catching up to do. But, I do like their format right now of the loosely connected stuff, just making individual movies and hopefully build stars and build something out of that going forward. So we'll definitely see how it winds up turning out.
It's definitely like, it's kind of funny because on the one hand, yeah, I would, part of me still wishes, DC could have taken that more of a Marvel direction. But on the other hand, I'm also not going to deny that their solo movies end up being really good. And I definitely would prefer to have like good solo movies instead of a bunch of really bad, like connected movies, and have that be like the way they do it all together,
Yeah, no, I totally feel you there, man. Let's see here. All right, guys, with that out of the way, we will go ahead and dive into our next topic. And trust me, guys, also, if you're in the live chat, if you're watching us live today, wherever you guys are on YouTube, Facebook, hit that like button, guys. It definitely does go a long way to certainly help our numbers and to hopefully make it suggestible to other people that want to check out A+ Hero Report. So hit that like button.
Sorry, off tangent for just a quick moment. Did you ever play Yu-Gi-Oh?
No, I was never a big card game guy like that.
I used to be a huge fan of it back in the day, but like it's so funny because it used to be like whenever I would play with someone who was also pretty good at the game, like you could literally have a game go on for like 10 to 20 minutes sometimes, and those would be the really fun, memorable games. I've tried getting back into it, but I swear to God, it's like every structure deck, which is basically like the starter decks you can get at like basically the idea is you buy a starter deck and then you build upon that deck to make it stronger. But like it's just like the idea of building onto those decks have gone away because now you just buy one of those and it's like games are meant to last for like 1 or 2 turns, and it's so hard for me to get into the game now because of that. It's like I don't want to play a game that just ends really fast, you know.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. A couple quick comments. Coder Nurse says R-rated movies based on PG comics is not the way. It might be for some people. You never know. Look, Todd Phillips did it. His movie made a billion dollars, if I'm not mistaken, with the Joker, and that was
I don't know if I'd say
R-rated.
Joker is a PG comic though.
Oh, I mean that's true, but I don't see them making it I've never seen anybody attempt to try and make a rated R movie out of a PG character. Like anytime that we've ever seen it happen, usually the character that they do make a rated R or are pushing it usually probably deserves a rated R movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and or the only exceptions would be like the Winnie the Pooh movie, for example, where it's like it's a joke that it's rated R, like that's part of the comedy about it, or like kind of even though it's not R rated per se, it's like more TV-14, but like with Riverdale.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's a good point. All right, guys. With that out of the way, we will move over to our next topic. We'll stay in the realm of DC for you guys today as we get into our next one. And this comes from the DC television side of things, as we're going to take a path down some Arrowverse talk for you guys today. In regards to the Arrow series, believe it or not. I know it's been off the air for a couple of years, but good old Colton Haynes, who played Roy Harper, aka Arsenal, in this series, is in the news as he had a sit-down interview this past week and shine some light a little bit in regards to his departure from the Arrow series. Now, Colton Haynes as Roy Harper has always kind of been in and out of the Arrow series. I can't remember how many seasons in total that he's been in, but he's definitely come in, come out, shown up whenever he certainly needed to for a storyline here or there. We even got to see an older version of Roy Harper and some of the flash forwards that we got in the later seasons of Arrow as well. Always a fan favorite, to certainly say the least. I really enjoyed Colton Haynes being on Arrow and always wanted to see a little bit more from him. Not taking anything away from good old Speedy. She was fantastic in her costume as well, but I did love me some Arsenal, to be perfectly honest with you guys. But I will say this, Stuart, the idea of him coming in and out of the lineup from time to time over the years always kind of confused me. The idea of why they didn't utilize him a little bit more than he did. And he does in this interview talk a little bit about the reasoning why he certainly might have left the show. And I found it pretty interesting. And I think this is a little bit time for some speculation on our part here. Let's go ahead and dive into this, Stuart, real quick. This comes to us from Screen Rant. Where it says Arrow star left the series, or he exited the season because he couldn't stand one of the cast members. And I thought that they were just one big happy family on that set, Stuart, but clearly not here. According to this, again, Arrow star left series because he couldn't stand one cast member. Let's go ahead and dive into this. It says Colton Haynes, who portrayed Roy Harper, aka Arsenal on Arrow, reveals his last departure after season 7 from Arrowverse drama was because of a cast member he couldn't stand. The Arrowverse has been one of the CW's biggest flagship franchises since 2012. It says one of the key characters from the Green Arrow mythology get introduced early in Arrow's run was Roy Harper, better known as Speedy, Red Arrow, and Arsenal in the comics. So he did. It says Roy quickly became a core Team Arrow member until the actor's departure in Arrow season 3, as he dealt with physical and mental health issues. Which, yeah, I have seen him doing some rounds of interviews, really talking about his mental health struggles. And it's, yeah, I didn't realize that Colton Haynes had such a difficult upbringing, to say the least. I really learned a lot more about him this past week. It says while Roy would pop up as a guest later on, Haynes eventually returned as a full-time cast member in season 7, but only returned for a handful of episodes in Arrow season 8. Almost 2 years after Arrow's run finished, Haynes is opening up more about what happened between 7 and 8. In his new memoir, Miss Memory Lane, the 33-year-old actor is sharing his various experiences in his career, including his final years on Arrow. He revealed in his memoir that it wasn't his contract that made him not return as a series regular, but rather depression and one specific Arrow cast member that he couldn't stand working with. This is what he says. He says, I had walked away from my full-time job on Arrow at the beginning of the year, supposedly because my contract had ended, but it was really because I was too depressed and I couldn't stand working with one of my castmates. It does say that not only did Haynes state, not only didn't Haynes state who his Arrow castmate was, but is unclear whether it was one of the series regulars or a recurring guest that appeared in season 7. So yeah, man, Stuart, I kind of want to go to you on this one first. Um, one, I find it interesting. One, I just want to mental health is a serious issue. And I definitely believe I'm definitely a person that believes in seeking a therapist, a counselor, somebody to certainly talk to. I know over the past couple of years, the idea of mental health or even finding help has been very much stigmatized, right? Sometimes it's hard for us to certainly swallow our own pride and handle things that we certainly have been struggling with. But I would honestly recommend, I feel like everybody, once they come out of the womb, should be given a therapist, honestly, like just to kind of help mediate you through your life a little bit. So mental health is a serious thing. And so the fact that Colton Haynes was dealing with depression the way that he was is always terrible to certainly hear, but I'm glad that he definitely went and tried to seek some help for it to better understand himself and his life. But I am kind of curious as to who this cast member is. Like, I appreciate Haynes also not throwing a cast member under the bus, not really trying to cause that type of drama, but at least bringing us the facts that he clearly clashed with somebody. I can't lie, Stuart, in the back of my head, I'm trying to think who was a part of the cast during the season 7. That's during season 7 and season 8. And trying to see who he probably could have been clashing with. Have you ever heard of any reports of any like bad apples or bad seeds when it comes to the Arrow show that maybe he was butting heads with? Any ideas at all?
No, we didn't hear. I don't think we heard about it because of the same reason he's not naming who it was. I think it's just, there's a certain level of professionalism you want to keep. So even if you're not getting along with someone, you don't want to constantly be that immature person on social media who goes, oh, this person's mean. This person's like not fun to work with. Because even if like you have good points about that person, even if that person is someone you really hate working with, you're still going to look like the immature person for coming out about it. So I think that's kind of like the big reason we don't know who it is because even if Colton isn't the only one who can't stand this cast member, I feel like no one else is going to say who it is because again, professionalism, that kind of stuff. But if I had to guess, I would probably guess Kate, because she was a character, or Kate McNamara. That's her name,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So in other words, Arrow's daughter. And I think that only because she was a character that came in, only for the last 2 seasons of Arrow, and they shared a lot of screen time in season 7, but I don't think they had a single moment together in season 8, if I remember correctly.
You might be onto something, Stuart. I'm not quite sure either, man. I will agree. I definitely appreciate his professionalism, at least in not calling the person out per se. I will say this. This Facebook user does say, does this sound similar to David from Power Rangers? I don't necessarily think so. I feel like if it was, Haynes probably would have said something even bigger. You know what I mean? This feels more like maybe a clash of personalities, in the sense of maybe instead of getting bullied or disrespected in that sense for who he is as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I think if that were the case, Haynes might have clarified something. So no, I wouldn't put it in the same category. But listen, not every cast member gets along with their crew. I don't know why. In the back of my head, something tells me Stephen Amell. I've never known him to really be a troublemaker or anything like that, or bump heads with people. But
I mean, there was
has there
one
been?
incident at an airport where he had a bit too much to drink. I mean, I respect him for taking full responsibility afterwards because he was on the podcast Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, and he immediately like he actually apologized for underplaying the situation originally. He was kind of like saying, "Oh yeah, it was just a issue on both of us." But then later on the podcast, he was like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. It was all me. I was just being a total asshole that day, and I apologize."
Yeah.
So he does take responsibility for that, but I don't know how if he's like that on set. I would like to think that he keeps it professional on set, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just crazy to me the idea of not getting along with one of your castmates enough to give up a full time job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay. So with the CW show, I get it. I imagine it's got to be one of the most miserable jobs if you're an actor on a CW show. So if you're already just like if you're already going through mental health issues while doing basically working 5 days a week for like 10 to 12 hour shifts sometimes where it's like, and you have to do it fast too. In a TV show, there's barely any time to like actually sit and catch your breath. It's like scene after scene because they got to produce, one episode a week, that kind of stuff. I can totally see how that would, have a big impact on your mental health. And then, if your mental health is really affecting you in certain ways, and then you have to deal with a cast member who is basically acting a certain way that really just doesn't collide with your mental health. It may not even be that cast member was an issue. It was just the way they were acting was just not the best way for that person's mental health issue to coincide with it, if that makes sense. So I think it may have been like a mixture of several things, and then just that cast member being like not easy to work with was just basically the straw, essentially.
You could be. I think you might be onto something there in that regards too. I was just thinking to myself, like, wouldn't it be trippy if it was the Thea Queen actress? Like the idea that they set you up with this storyline to like be boyfriend and girlfriend, and yet in reality behind the scenes you guys really can't stand each other, and so maybe that's why they never like made their relationship fully work out. They're like, we really can't have them kissing in a scene together. They really don't want to be around each other as much as they used to anymore. Like maybe we should just end this relationship and really have them go in their separate ways. That's another person I'm thinking in my head also too.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty funny, not gonna lie, if that was the case. It's always really funny when it comes to on-screen couples that don't get along outside the set, because you can every once in a while, not all the time, sometimes they're professional enough to hide it, but every once in a while you can kind of tell. Like sometimes like the biggest indicator is if they rely too much on shot reverse shots, because more than likely what's going on is that the other person isn't even in the same scene they're just not in the same scene together. They're filming it separately, and they just like edit it together to make it look like shot reverse shots.
Yeah, they do come up with some creative ways for sure. Marcelino says he thinks Colton Haynes had a problem with someone from seasons 2, 3, or even 4. Yeah, man.
Was
I mean,
he in
that's
4?
maybe they did say that he comes back as like a guest appearance from time to time. He was in season 2, right?
Yeah,
He exited in season 3. So yeah, maybe he wasn't around for season 4 unless he had a guest appearance or something like that.
may have been a guest appearance.
That's I think that's one of the reasons why I suggested maybe even the Thea Queen actress, just because he brought that up. Like he did have a lot of interaction in those seasons too. Maybe they quickly discovered, yeah, they can't be on the same screen together, guys. So we'll see what happens here, man. But I just find it interesting. I appreciate Colton Haynes opening up, giving us a little bit more insight in regards to his time on Arrow, because it was for me as a viewer very frustrating to see Roy Harper come in and out of the lineup, because I honestly really wanted him to go on and do much bigger things on the show than what he did, but clearly clearly his struggles with whoever he certainly worked with in his own mental capacity and stuff as well just was not a good mixture. So I'm glad that he's doing much better, though. I think that's the true point of this story, is that he's feeling much better and taking care of himself and understanding his mind much more. So congratulations to him for sure.
One last thing I got to point out. before we started this topic in particular, I was feeling like a major case of deja vu, and I couldn't figure out why until just now. I realized so another show I watch is, or another podcast I listen to is the After Party on Erickson Reloaded's channel, and I realized I think their first two topics, basically I was listening to them while I was falling asleep last night because I had a headphone in my ear and I was just like listening to their podcast to fall asleep to. I think their first two topics were literally the first two topics we
Oh,
just
really?
covered.
Nice. I mean, we're pulling some good stories. We have some good stories
Yeah.
here this week to certainly talk about.
So
But
if I accidentally say something that they've already said, I'm not trying to plagiarize. It's just, again, subconsciously, I'm sure like something like one of them has said is like somewhere there. So I'm not
oh yeah,
plagiarizing, I swear.
I'm sure we all have similar thoughts in regards to things sometimes. But again, the whole Colton Haynes thing, just to clarify, we're just simply speculating as to who the cast members are, right? We really don't know for sure who he certainly had problems with. So just because we're throwing out names, please don't use it as that's confirmation that that's exactly who Colton Haynes was having problems with. So, but yeah.
We're going to change our name to Screen Rant, and then we're going to title our article Colton Haynes clashes with Oliver Queen, or with Stephen Amell.
Yeah,
confirmed.
Yeah,
and then in the article will be like, he said a cast member, but clearly he meant Stephen Amell.
Yeah, clearly
What's our
evidence?
Implying. It doesn't exist, but trust us, man, we know.
Trust our source. All right, guys. With that out of the way, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic. From DC to Marvel, not just a trend.
We're not doing the other DC TV topic.
Damn it, Adam. See, thank you very much, Stuart. This is why I got you here for, man. Keep me on track. Jumping into our next DC topic. Stuart, this past week, last week, I think we got the reveal of the Gotham Knights logo and design and characters. And this week, we actually wind up getting our very first trailer for the upcoming CW Arrowverse show, Gotham Knights. I'm still considering it Arrowverse, but at this point, who knows? But Gotham Knights is here. We wind up having ourselves like a 3-minute trailer that wind up dropping this past week, Stuart. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to check out the trailer or not, but I do want to go ahead and talk about it with you a little bit. Give me a minute. I'm trying to also upload another poster here. But listen, man, when it comes to Gotham Knights, I feel like when it was announced, there were a lot of question marks surrounding it, trying to figure out exactly what is this series going to be? What is it exactly going to look like? What's the feel and tone that they're certainly trying to capture with this particular series? Well, we definitely got to see what it was in this trailer. And Stuart, my fears are coming true. I have no idea what this show is supposed to be, but I got to tell you, man, look, when the point of a trailer is literally to get you hyped for an upcoming series, if I'm grading this trailer as a trailer, I'm just not that excited for this Gotham Knights, Stuart. I just don't know what this is supposed to be. Maybe it is supposed to be Riverdale meets CW superheroes, and they're really pushing for that sort of teen drama vibe. If that's what they're going for, they hit everything. They hit every marker that you could possibly ask for when it comes to it. But it does still make me hesitant in the sense that, one, first off, the main character, he looks like Archie. He looks like the guy from Riverdale, literally. Like, this literally looks like you just want to make a Riverdale superhero show. And that's exactly what we wind up having. Stuart, my biggest fear, man, watching this is that I feel like they want to make DC television shows, but they don't want to fully commit to it. Like, this feels like CW that's in a really weird transitional period of trying to be sold, trying to create content that looks appealing to people, but at the same time, like begging Warner Brothers, can we just have some characters to use? And DC goes into like the bin of D-level heroes, and they're like, here you go, do something with these people if you can. And we wind up getting people like a Stephanie Brown, a Carrie Kelly, a completely brand new character that's now the adopted son of Bruce Wayne. I mean, it's cool and all that it's being written by the Batwoman creators, but it feels like they have really avoided the superhero elements and really decided to dive more heavy into the teen drama, the murder mystery aspect. And when I see Carrie Kelly running around in a complete black suit, talking about, she's the eyes and ears of Batman, and I know you're supposed to be Robin. I'm like, where's your Robin costume? Damn it. Like, are we trying to avoid costumes in this show too? Are we reverting back to X-Men of 1999 and putting everybody in like black leather for this particular show too? I mean, it's the same feeling I got when watching Naomi. What is this supposed to be? Is this going to be another slow burn of us working on character build up and storyline details? And don't get me wrong, Stuart, I love that. I think all of that should certainly come first, but I think there's a level of superheroing and heroism and adventure that should certainly still be a part of these, that this trailer for me kind of completely forgot about, or at least showcased to me that it's going to be subtle in this series and not really take itself too seriously in that sense where, hey, we're really going to be focusing on the characters here. This is a Gotham 2.0, but instead of Jim Gordon, we're giving you Harvey Dent to help lead this thing. And so for me, first trailer, I'm just not impressed. Could this be the next big hit for all we know? Absolutely, because it's on CW. People love the kind of teen dramas that are on CW. People clearly come out to watch those shows. And maybe that's what the CW is certainly trying to turn into, while desperately hoping that Warner Brothers still gives them some sort of superheroes to maybe work with. Because I just don't know what to expect from this, Stuart. And it left a bad taste in my mouth. I'll say that. But let me go over to you. What are your thoughts in regards to the trailer?
Yeah, I fully agree. It not only was I not impressed, I think another thing is that, and I can't say this for sure, so let me keep this in mind. I can't say this for sure, but I feel like this is the show that really kind of put the nail in the coffin for Batwoman. So it really kind of sucks to see that we traded Batwoman, which finally had its footing down, finally figured out what type of show it wanted to be, and then right when it kind of got its format down, oh, it gets canceled, and then we get Gotham Knights instead. And I think that's like what is upsetting like a lot of people about the show. It's not necessarily that the show looks bad, but it's that it might have been the number one reason another show got canceled. So I think that's like the biggest thing that I think people are saying about it. I think what makes me not look forward to it is that, personally, I'm not a fan of Riverdale. I actually really don't like that show. I tried to get into it. I did. I couldn't. And so now kind of like seeing that that's the direction they're taking. They're just kind of giving us Riverdale, but in Gotham City now. It really doesn't seem very interesting to me. The Batman, the fact that we kind of get a glimpse of Batman and he doesn't even like actually have a costume. He just has a really cheap mask.
And he's got a suit on. Like if you see the shot in the trailer where they find the Batman body, it literally looks like Bruce Wayne in a suit with just the bat cowl or mask on. And it looks kind of Catwoman-y to me, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I don't know why they're using, an original character for Bruce's like adopted son. Like there are a lot of, and I'm not even just talking about a lot of different characters in general that they could have used. I mean, like even within DC's own catalog, or even within the CW's own catalog, they had more characters that they could have used for an adopted Bruce Wayne. Why isn't Carrie Kelly the main character in this show? That's what I don't get. She's an actual Robin, and you could just have it be in this universe. She was the one that Bruce adopted instead of Dick Grayson. There's so many different directions they could have taken it that would have made more sense, but they decide to instead go with this original character who I'm sure we're going to get some big twist about later on, about him actually being the son of, either a villain or like another character as well. But at the same time, that's just to me not very interesting. I think, especially when you have a name like Gotham Knights, when you think Knights, you don't think people in street clothes, Scooby doing the crap out of a murder.
This is Mystery Incorporated, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You think like, like the video game, essentially, like, you think Batgirl, you think, Nightwing. And I think the biggest thing that people will say is, well, they probably didn't have those characters. Well, I can give you a full list of Gotham Knights characters that they do have that were all part of the Bat family that they could have easily used. Like they could have used Spoiler, who is in Batwoman and technically in this show, but not playing Spoiler. And then you got Batwing, you got Batwoman. If they wanted to keep Bluebird in this show, that's also fine. Just I think give her a costume. Too. Yeah, exactly.
I think she is this, right? Yeah,
she is. But she's a character just there without a costume, And then oh god, but basically, anyone from Batwoman they could also use. Just give them a costume, and it would look so much cooler too. And they have the rights to all these characters. It's just for some reason these are the characters they want to go with, and they don't even want to go with the fun version of these characters. They want to go with these kind of I don't want to say D-list. They're more like C or B-list characters, and they don't want to do anything that fun with those B-list characters. Where you could give James Gunn, for example, give him some D-list characters like Peacemaker, and he will make them feel like an A-list character. These are basically B-list characters that now feel like D-list characters.
God, that's pretty bad. They somehow managed to take them backwards a little bit, which is kind of crazy. Look, I will be honest, the Carrie Kelly, I love the idea that she's a part of the show. I think it's cool that we're getting ourselves a live action version. I'm actually really fascinated too by the Joker's daughter that's going to be in here. I think she might end up being a star. So her and Carrie Kelly, if there are any bright spots to this trailer that I am fascinated in learning more about, it's probably those two characters. There's a great shot in this trailer too when they mention, are you really the daughter of the Joker? They go back to the Dark Knight shot, and even from the Joker shot where she's hanging out of the police car or something like that. She's got the police hat on, she's got her half her body out of the police car and the wind's going through. So I really like the homage to the Dark Knight scene and things like that. But those are the only two moments that I appreciated about this whole entire trailer. Outside of that, I could really care less what happens to this adopted son of theirs. While they do have other characters, like you mentioned, right? Spoiler, Bluebird, they're going to be in here. It is more or less a focus of them just as these teenagers. Is it a case of a slow burn? Like season one will build up their story, and then by the end of season one, we get them in costumes. My biggest fear is that this is turning into a Naomi 2.0. One of the reasons why people didn't come back for a season two or viewership fell off is that they focused maybe too much on character development, too much on mystery and story for more than half of that particular season. And people got tired of waiting for that slow burn to certainly play itself out. So I will just say this. Is there a possibility that Gotham Knights comes out and it's incredible? I mean, look, it's coming from the writers of Batwoman. They seemingly improved from seasons 2 to 3. Maybe they have a better understanding of what they want to do here with Gotham Knights. Could this be a hit? Absolutely. But if you're telling me, do I think it's going to be a hit based off of the very first trailer and my levels of excitement? I'm not looking forward to this, man. I probably will watch the first 2 episodes because of what we do here at A+ Hero Report, right? So we probably will get an idea and a feel for what the show is. But man, I just do not feel very positive about this show, Stuart. And this feels very much like the CW just trying to put together something with the least amount of DC characters that Warner Brothers will allow them to have in order to look appealing to maybe be picked up and purchased at some point in time for the CW. And I don't know, man. I feel I got one season only vibes out of this, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, though.
Here's what I think they're trying to do, and I kind of get it to an extent, but I do think it's going to end up biting them in the ass from doing so. It feels like the CW has 2 different types of fans. You got the teen drama crowd, and then you got the DC nerds like us. And I think what they're trying to do is create a show where you can finally kind of merge the two. And I think they're trying to do that with Gotham Knights. I just don't think this is going to be the show that it's going to work for. I feel like there are also, if that's what they were trying to do, there are, DC shows that, or DC comic books, like, obviously they can't do Dead Boys Detective because that's on HBO Max, but, there are comic books similar to that style that they want to try to do. And I think if they had gone with something like that, it could have worked out a lot better in the long run. But I think because they chose to go with Gotham Knights, a very familiar city to comic book nerds, I feel like that's going to make comic book nerds not interested. And I feel like the teen drama crowd is going to think that this is meant to be like part of the CW stuff. So they're not going to be interested either. So I feel like they tried to please both crowds. And in return, they're going to end up just, both crowds are going to not care about it in the long run.
You might be onto something, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens, though. But listen, regardless, Gotham Knights is coming, guys. Coming in 2023. It's going to be here at the very beginning of the year. I'm assuming, if anything, it'll drop that upcoming January. Marcelina says also the line where Carrie Kelly says Bruce Wayne called her his Robin comes off as cringe. It gives me weird pervert vibes. I mean, yeah, no. Yeah, he calls me his little Robin. I'm his eyes and ears. Yeah, I think that's what she says. Yeah, it's a really weird dynamic, man. It's a really weird dynamic. I don't know how to feel about it, but I'll give the first couple of episodes a try and certainly see it. I know Indy's a big fan of the trailer. Indy's really hyped for it. He seemingly likes the direction in which it's going. So I'm sure this will probably work, certainly for some people, man. But first impressions, at least for me, not that impressed, but we'll give it a shot. We'll definitely give it a shot. But yeah, guys, at the end of the day, these are our A+ opinions. Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts. And from DC to Marvel, not only in regards to our articles, but casting as well, Stuart. As Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is currently filming, or actually, I think it might have actually wrapped filming, if I'm not mistaken, over as of last week sometime. But more casting news tends to certainly come out when it comes to James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy, and it seems as though James Gunn's time on the Suicide Squad when he filmed for Warner Brothers went so incredibly well that he wound up picking up a talent from the Suicide Squad and bringing them over to Guardians of the Galaxy. So let's go ahead and check this out, Stuart, as this comes to us from good old Deadline, letting us know that the actress Daniela Melchior, who wound up playing Ratcatcher over in, or Ratcatcher 2, if I'm not mistaken, over in the Suicide Squad, will appear in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And I honestly, she always left a great impression on me from the Suicide Squad. I thought the help of her, Polka Dot Man, good old Peacemaker. I think a lot of these characters really helped carry the movie. And I really appreciated just the great sentimental moments that she had with the Idris Elba character. And was it Bloodshot? Was that his name? Or Bloodsport? Bloodsport.
Yeah.
Really highlighted to me just how great of an actress that she certainly was, and certainly what she's capable of. And if you ask me, one of the things I've always been asking for, Stuart, after we got Peacemaker, especially knowing that James Gunn is going to be working on another Warner Brothers property out of the Suicide Squad, I've always asked for a Ratcatcher 2, hopefully starring Daniela Melchior, along with maybe even a Polka Dot sort of spin-off series. I would absolutely love to see either of those two, because apparently James Gunn sees talent and recognizes it when he does see it. As this comes to us from Deadline, says that the Suicide Squad breakout, Daniela Melchior, will have a small role in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, we can confirm. But as director James Gunn confirmed late last year, the actress won't be appearing as the character Moondragon, which has been speculated online. It does say filming recently wrapped on the anticipated threequel. And it does have a bunch of other names and things like that listed in here as well. So they're not going to reveal to us exactly who Daniela Melchior, in fact, will be playing, but she's definitely not going to be playing Moondragon. I was going to ask if you wanted to speculate as to who she might be playing, but if you can't speculate, just your thoughts real quick on the idea of Daniela Melchior being a part of Guardians 3.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, I don't know enough about the cosmic side of the Marvel universe to really speculate on who she might be playing in a Guardians movie. But that being said, her and James Gunn worked extremely well together in the Suicide Squad, and I think that's one of James Gunn's massive talents, is that he can just really see every actor's strengths and weaknesses, and he knows exactly how to work with their strengths. So her being in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 definitely gets me excited, and I really can't wait to see the performance that she gives in that, whether she's playing a comic book character or an original character. Something I also love about James Gunn is like it's very similar to Kevin Smith in a way. It's like you work with him in one movie, and if you get along with him, if he really likes what he sees in you, he will find a way to get you into his next movies for sure.
Did you know, side mention here in regards to James Gunn? Did you know he was dating the girl from Peacemaker, the the main lead? I think the special agent.
I heard that. I heard about that, and my immediate thought was, "Oh God, I am so jealous."
Yeah, I think maybe her dancing moves in the opening intro is what did it for James Gunn. He's like, yeah, she's a keeper. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if she winds up popping up in some more James Gunn movies. But I'm hoping if Daniela Melchior pops up here in Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe they're going to continue to work with each other. Certainly later on, because yeah, there are some directors and writers who have worked with people in the past that enjoy working with them so much that they constantly keep them coming back. Like for some reason, I think of Christopher Nolan and Michael Caine. He brings Michael Caine back a bajillion. Like every movie he makes, Michael Caine is in it. So yeah, some people just have their favorite actors they love working with. So we'll see if Daniela Melchior pops up in anything else outside of Guardians. And considering that this is really his last hurrah when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a part of me that really was hoping that she would play Moondragon. I too am not really familiar too much with the cosmic characters as to who she could potentially play. But I don't even know if she's got that big of a role. I could see maybe like a guest appearance, a guest cameo, like a supporting character, maybe that has maybe a few lines, or maybe one or two scenes. But I don't know if she's going to be like pivotal to the storyline. But I would love to see how she bounces off and what her chemistry is like with the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy cast for sure. Because I do think she's capable. I mean, if she's able to hold the screen with somebody like a Idris Elba, then yeah, I think Daniela Melchior can hold the screen and be captivating with anybody, honestly. So we'll see what happens here, guys. But we'll have more information for you, especially as we get closer to the release of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I believe they filmed Guardians 3 and even the holiday special maybe together. I think this year, I think we get ourselves the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. And then I think next year will be Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But we'll keep you guys posted with any Guardians of the Galaxy news that we wind up getting. But yeah, let us know your thoughts.
I am kind of wondering, with the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, if like anyone else other than James Gunn had pitched this idea, if Disney would have went for it. Like if the Russo brothers were like, "Hey, what if we did a holiday special for Guardians?" Would Kevin Feige have been like, "Nah, I'm good"? But then the moment James Gunn's like, "Oh, I like that idea," he's like, "Oh, you know what? Let's do it."
Yeah, I guess maybe I would just see who it depends on who pitched it to them. And based off of everything that we've seen, from Guardians, anything James Gunn wants to do, let that man do at this point. He could do no wrong to me. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to Danielle Melchior. If you guys have any ideas as to who you certainly would like to see her play or pop up as when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy 3, let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And Stuart, with that, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic. We're actually going to be diving in the world of video games / television, as over the past several months, Stuart, when it comes to the Peacock streaming service, there is a new series in development over there starring Anthony Mackie as the lead role. And that is, in fact, Twisted Metal, the very popular video game. It's been around for years. It's have different, definitely different versions of it for sure over the years, but good old Twisted Metal is in the news as we are getting a ton of casting announcements. It feels like every few months in regards to this upcoming live action series from Peacock. And I will say this, while I'm personally not familiar with the video game itself, I've never played it, but I've always been very much highly aware of it. I know Indy is really the big video game guy here, but honestly, Stuart, I feel like anytime that there's been an announcement, in regards to the Twisted Metal series, and even the same thing with what's the other? Was it the Fortnite? I don't even know if Fortnite's making a movie or not. I can't remember what it was, but it feels like some of the casting choices for something like a Twisted Metal. Oh, it's Borderlands, I think is the other one, not Fortnite, but Borderlands is the other one that's currently being casted. I feel like there are some head scratching moments when it comes to some of the cast that's been announced for Twisted Metal. But again, being somebody that's never played the video game, maybe other people think that the casting choices are maybe a perfect fit. But this week, Stuart, we wind up getting a casting choice for one of the characters by the name of Sweet Tooth that I found rather intriguing, because they're not only casting one actor, but also two actors to play this one particular role, Stuart. So let's go ahead and dive into this, because I found this rather interesting, and I think wrestling fans also will find this rather interesting. But first off, this is from Variety, saying that Will Arnett is set to actually be the voice of the character Sweet Tooth. So that's the Sweet Tooth character, for those of you who don't know, but it says Will Arnett to voice the Sweet Tooth character in the Twisted Metal series at Peacock. Will Arnett is officially set to voice the iconic character. The character in the show is described as a hilarious and terrifying Hulk of a man who is as emotional as he is cunning. A lover of chaos, this majestic, rage-filled killer dons an evil, smiling clown mask and uses Las Vegas as his own personal kill ground, all while he drives his infamous Doomsday ice cream truck. It has long been rumored that Arnett would voice Sweet Tooth, in addition to serving as an executive producer on the series, though it was never formally announced until now. Some of the other cast members, Anthony Mackie, Stephanie Beatriz, Thomas Hayden Church, and Nev Campbell have been attached to the live action show as well. It says Arnett is very much a well-accomplished voice actor, having voiced title characters in Netflix's series BoJack Horseman for 6 seasons, most notably known for voicing Batman and the Lego Batman movies, as well as both Lego movies as well. So yeah, man, he's got a plethora of things on his plate that Will Arnett is certainly known for. I think the man is hilarious. I watch Will Arnett a lot when it comes to, I don't know if you've ever seen this series. It comes on Hulu. I don't think it's a Hulu original. I think it's comes on Fox, but Lego Masters. If you guys are big Lego fans, I think they've had like 2 or 3 seasons of Lego Masters, and Will Arnett is the host for that competition show. And he's so hilarious. I absolutely love his comedy. So this feels like a great casting choice in regards to the voice, at least, of Sweet Tooth. But what do you think about the casting here, Stuart?
So far from all the casting that I've seen, like I think it's kind of awesome. Not just with Will Arnett and Joe, but like everyone else that they've announced from the movie. But yeah, with Will Arnett being the voice of Sweet Tooth, okay, so I know nothing about the video game personally, but just looking at that photo, I think like Will Arnett's voice coming out of that kind of a character is perfect. Will Arnett is genuinely like one of my favorite voice actors. So like, I mean, not that he's not a good actor, when he's like on screen. I just think he's at his best when he's off screen behind the camera, and he's able to really just have a lot of fun with the different voices, whether it be Batman or my personal favorite. I don't know if you've ever watched BoJack Horseman. Such an amazing series, and it's so weird how it goes from comedy to drama, pretty smoothly, surprisingly. But regardless, yeah, him as Sweet Tooth I think is a great choice. I don't keep up with wrestling, but I can say that body wise, I think Joe looks like he's also going to be perfect for Sweet Tooth as like kind of the body actor for him. And I really look forward to seeing like how they work together. I really hope it ends up being as good as like Robot Man, for example, from Doom Patrol, where it's like you got a suit actor, but then you got Brandon Fraser voicing the character. But like they work together so well that if I didn't know that Brandon Fraser only voiced the character, I would have totally assumed that he was in the costume as well.
That's a good point. The idea of the voice actor having to work with the body double as well in regards to understand its movements, the timing of when he moves his body, how to deliver the lines and stuff. I mean, you make a really good point, and I have a feeling that Brandon Fraser probably does work pretty closely, or at least I would think that he works closely with whoever the body double is for Robot Man on Doom Patrol. But you're right, man. I do think that this is a great casting choice. I mean, especially when it comes to Will Arnett and just what he's capable of doing as a voice actor. I can easily see him voicing Sweet Tooth. But what's fascinating to me, and you kind of brought this up a little bit too, is the idea that while he's voicing it, he's clearly not going to be the body double. I mean, we see the body of Sweet Tooth, and I don't necessarily know if Will Arnett is looking to bulk up that much. But one man that's already there to certainly go ahead and actually be the body double for this is good old Samoa Joe. If you guys are big wrestling fans, you've probably seen this gentleman a plethora of times. But good old Samoa Joe, according to comingsoon.net, he is cast to go ahead and be Sweet Tooth's body. It's interesting to and there's good old Samoa Joe. So let's go ahead and bring this up here for you. So he's going to be representing the body. I'm assuming they'll go ahead and get him in like some type of suit that he's going to be rocking around set sort of thing as to go ahead and get that set up. But yeah, man, I think it's a great choice, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dang it. I'm sorry, my computer's frozen on me. Stuart, can you see everything all right?
Yeah, I can see you're moving just fine too.
Oh, am I? Oh, yeah, my computer completely froze on me. Like I literally can't move over to the next screen or anything like that or scroll down.
Never mind, you just started fidgeting. Yeah, now you're kind of frozen on our end.
No, damn you, internet.
Well, on the bright side, you're not frozen with a really weird face on camera. It's just kind of like the normal "you're about to say something" kind of face.
Oh, okay, well, not right now at least.
And we can all still hear
I don't know. Maybe this thing won't work for me. Okay, well, if you guys can still hear me, I'll definitely go ahead and take that. Maybe one day my computer will certainly work. But I love the casting for both of this. I honestly, I will say this. Shout out to Samoa Joe, who over the past several months, his career has been kind of, I don't want to say all over the place, but you know, he went from WWE. From there, he went over to AEW. Homeboy immediately became a champion over there. I think he's the ROH. He's some ROH champion. I don't think he's like the heavyweight champion or anything like that. But I've always loved Samoa Joe his entire career. He's been great at commentary as well. I'm so glad that he's still attached to the wrestling business in some capacity. And still wrestling after all these years. But to be able to go out and do other things outside of wrestling, I think is a big win for somebody like Samoa Joe. So him being cast in Twisted Metal, granted, I don't know what he can do in regards to acting, but hey, man, if we ever need a Hulk-like body, we're coming to you, Joe, because Joe is one terrifying beast of a man. But it says, yeah, Will Arnett got cast as Sweet Tooth, but he will be sharing the role with someone else. Current Ring of Honor television champion and All Elite wrestler Samoa Joe will be playing Sweet Tooth, providing the body for the fire-headed clown. It does say that he is no stranger to the video game realm either. He's been a frequent guest on Xavier Woods' gaming YouTube channel, and he even I didn't even know this, and even voicing King Shark in the upcoming Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League video game. So he's doing some voice acting work as well. So I think that's pretty cool, man. Congratulations to Samoa Joe for all these opportunities that are falling into his lap. But yeah, I'm a big fan, man. I'm looking forward to these two working together.
Yeah, definitely.
But let us know your guys' thoughts in regards to it. Are you big fans of Will Arnett or even Samoa Joe? Do you think this is great casting for the Sweet Tooth character? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. Where is Datilla? Datilla had a comment up here real quick. Joe. I absolutely love it. Christopher Throbbin. What's up, Christopher Throbbin? Samoa Joe is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Yeah, me too, man. He's right up there. He also says he's not as buff as Adam Perez, but who can be? Shit. Samoa Joe would eat me for lunch, man. I appreciate the compliment, but yeah, for sure. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic. Hopefully, if my computer wants to work for me here. Give me a minute.
It's working good now, it looks like.
There we go. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic as we wrap up. This is our final topic for the day, and we're going to get into our Star Wars bag, Stuart, because we just literally wrapped up Star Wars Celebration as of last weekend. It was a fantastic 4 days of covering Star Wars for you guys. We've got some great content on our YouTube channel. If you guys are big Star Wars fans, go ahead and check out our last week's sets of videos for you guys. But Star Wars is back in the news because it seems as though good old Taika Waititi, fresh off of wrapping up his Thor: Love and Thunder, as the marketing push begins for that movie, especially with it coming out in like a month, if I'm not mistaken. The next Thor movie is set to go ahead and drop in July. So I'm pretty sure Taika Waititi is getting ready for his press tours, his press conferences, all the interviews and stuff that are certainly getting ready. But I can guarantee you, once that's done, he seemingly is about to be in front of the camera getting ready for a Star Wars movie, Stuart. So let's go ahead and dive into this, as some details have emerged in regards to when production could possibly be starting on the next Star Wars movie, Stuart. And it looks like it's going to be here sooner rather than later, according to this insight. This comes to us from StarWarsNewsNet.com, a great source for Star Wars news. It says reports suggest that Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie will film in LA. Lucasfilm's still aiming for their December 2023 release. I mean, we're talking about a year and a half away for this movie coming out. It says the latest report from Production Weekly suggests that preparation for Taika Waititi's untitled Star Wars movies is ramping up, with Kathleen Kennedy recently saying that they are aiming for Waititi's movie to release in December of 2023. The expectation is the film would begin filming this year. Per the public information on Production Weekly's website, it does say a new Star Wars production is set to move forward in a major capacity. No start window has been definitively listed, but it is being mentioned alongside the likes of Andor and Skeleton Crew, both of which are expected to begin filming in the fall. And if anything, Andor, it will in fact be for season 2, with the former specifically beginning filming in November. I'm assuming is when that's what they're talking about for Andor. Andor season 2 filming dates were also confirmed by Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy at Celebration. So Andor is beginning filming in November, and according to Production Weekly, the Star Wars movie is also mentioned alongside Andor and Skeleton Crew. It should also be noted that Production Weekly's information is based on tentative dates and is not necessarily a full reflection on when projects will shoot, and it may refer to an earlier developmental phase like pre-production. It does not appear that it is untitled production is tied to the Acolyte. So tentative dates as of right now. So this clearly can all change, but seemingly right now it looks like it says Bespin Bulletin purchased a copy of the report, which is buried behind a paywall, and the full details reveal that this mystery project is indeed the Star Wars movie from Taika Waititi, and that it will be shooting in Los Angeles. Depending on when production starts, it is possible that the film could make a December 2023 release date that was originally planned for Rogue Squadron. Although Waititi and his crew would have to work quickly, presuming the script is in fact ready. So it seems as though, Stuart, that they are very much still set on trying to release this movie in that year for December 2023. So let me just say this again: this date in it beginning filming in fall is tentative. But if you are trying to aim for a December 2023 date, you probably want to try and get in front of filming as soon as you possibly can. I'll say that right now, especially when it comes to something as special effects heavy as a Star Wars movie, especially during now in the pandemic time, Stuart, where some of the stories that we've heard of, a lot of the VFX sort of side of things taking a little bit longer than normal. That's one of the reasons why we begin a lot of dates pushed back for some movies, because of the fact that the visual effects certainly still need to be worked on, since the pandemic has made everybody really work more home from working remotely, sort of thing. So it feels like a really tough challenge to go ahead and put together a very well executed Star Wars movie and have it literally released in about a year and a half. Is it possible to do? Absolutely. So, a couple things come to mind when I hear this. One, to me, if these dates do hold true and Taika Waititi does start filming in, say, October, maybe even earlier than that, or even November, to me, it suggests that maybe pre-production is a lot further along than we know. Maybe the script is kind of already done. Like, I do wonder if maybe the script's already been done, and while he's been wrapping up, say, Thor: Love and Thunder, maybe Lucasfilm behind the scenes has had their crew working on the development of this movie, pre-production, maybe getting some of the pre-visuals out of the way and certainly ready to go, so that when Taika is ready to film, boom, all he's got to do is just get behind the director's chair and everything's certainly ready for him. That's definitely a possibility. And I also will even throw this out, Stuart, because of the fact that we haven't been announced as to what this particular movie is. There was a recent interview with Pedro Pascal from The Mandalorian that recently came out and said he feels like a Mandalorian movie is almost inevitable at this point in time. And there is a part of me that wonders, since we got Taika Waititi, who directed an episode of The Mandalorian for the season finale, we've heard them talking in the past a lot about the idea of potentially maybe even having a Mandalorian movie. What if that's what Taika Waititi is working on right now? A Mandalorian movie to maybe help wrap up what we have so far, right? I mean, the quick turnaround would maybe suggest that too, in the sense that we've got all these visuals that we need sort of ready to go. We're also working already inside of this volume studio, which is all, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it is located at the LA. They have different volumes everywhere around the world, I believe, but I do believe that there is one stationed in LA. That would suggest the ability to maybe film and have a full movie together, certainly ready to go. And based off of the connective pieces that we have seen from the Mandalorian seasons 1, 2, Book of Boba Fett, maybe Mandalorian season 3, maybe even the Ahsoka series, who's to say that maybe Jon Favreau's season 4 that he's writing, maybe it's not a season, maybe it's a movie, maybe it is season 4 and they also have a movie in play. I have no idea, but there is a part of me that thinks maybe Taika Waititi is either doing a Mandalorian movie, which would allow the quick turnaround, or this is something completely different. And if it is something completely different, Stuart, I can't lie, I'm a little bit worried that they would stick to the December 23 date, because it does make me feel like, okay, are we just repeating the mistakes that we had before of trying to rush a movie out when we don't need to rush a movie out? I could also see this being pushed back one more year, which I personally would prefer, just to make sure that this movie comes together perfectly well, because I do think Taika Waititi can make a fantastic Star Wars movie. So there is a sense of worry when it comes to this news, but a sense of maybe, is this a Mandalorian movie, which I would be perfectly okay with also. But what do you think, Stuart, when you hear this information coming from them, that the Taika Waititi may be filming his movie next? What's your first initial thoughts?
Well, when it comes to like the pre-production stuff for Star Wars, I feel like they have like a bigger advantage over most other studios out there, because a lot of the assets are being reused from, different shows and different movies. Like, they don't necessarily destroy them, they keep them. And then the other thing that they have, which I think really helps when it comes to the post-production side of things, is they got their LED screens, so you don't really even have to worry about cropping things out or doing a lot of things by hand like afterwards. Like, a lot of the times, like, the shots that you see in the shows are what it would look like when they're being filmed on set. So the post-production side of things is a lot easier. And then same with the, pre-production, because again, all of it's already, you look at,
Good point.
Flashpoint, for example, which was a Warner Brothers project. Most of what they're using is original. They, with even the Flash costume, the Batman costume, even though they're based on pre-existing costumes, they're being remade for the first time for this movie. So that's like a lot of, production stuff that they have to do to prep for it. And then of course, because a lot of it is very VFX heavy and it's all done on green screens, that's all stuff that they have to do in post-production. So I think the idea of filming this in, like later this year and still having a 2023 release date is decently realistic given the resources that they have going for them. As for your idea for a Mandalorian movie, one way I could see that working pretty well, but it would really depend on the direction of the show, because there is one issue that this would have if they went this direction. But knowing that they want to keep all their movies kind of in the similar timeline as the the sequel trilogy. My
That's
thought
right.
is,
Good
what
point.
if they wanted to do a Mandalorian movie that takes place in that time period? The only
Interesting.
issue you would have is that then certain things would have to be concrete. Like if Grogu, for example, was in that show and he was still alive, you could never do anything to really write Grogu out of the show like they kind of did at the end of season 2 before bringing him back. So or certain elements, like certain fake outs, like if they really wanted us to think that the Mandalorian died in the television show, no one's going to believe that because we see him in the movie. So there are going to be issues like that, but overall I do think it is a cool idea and big possibility. But yeah, who knows? I honestly don't know. I'm expecting overall whatever they go with this movie, with Taika Waititi behind it, I'm definitely expecting a lot more of a comedic kind of tone going into it, like a little bit more comedic than your kind of typical Star Wars movie. But I do feel like it is still going to feel very in line with the sequel trilogy.
And I definitely do think you're right there for sure. Especially because Enrique does bring this up. He does say, maybe a sequel era Star Wars movie, and that's exactly what Kathleen Kennedy did mention over at Star Wars Celebration. I think she specifically mentioned that the movies that we were going to be getting were going to be during sort of that era time period, probably after Rise of Skywalker. So that probably does throw out my my Mandalorian speculation idea that I wind up having, because I do expect Rogue Squadron by Patty Jenkins and Taika Waititi to pick up after that sequel era. But could there be Mandalorian connections? Who certainly know. But the fact that you brought that up, Stuart, definitely reminded me of Kathleen Kennedy and what you wind up saying. So the Mandalorian aspect might be out of it, but you're right. When they already do have great technology like that of the volume, it certainly does make post-production a lot easier for them, I'm sure, when it comes to kind of putting those things together. I mean, the movie making and things that continue to change over every year, and with all the step ups in technology and things like that, it probably just makes it a little bit easier for them to go ahead and put these movies together. And I mean, we saw how well the volume was used in, say, a movie like The Batman, where I thought half the shit was practical half the time. Like when I see Batman like on a scaffold standing above the buildings and you see the wind, I'm thinking of or you see the wind affecting them. I'm like, man, I wonder what building they shot that on top of. And then you come to realize, oh, it's just fans and big LED TV screens at them. And I'm like, oh man, movie magic certainly at its finest. So they really can certainly do a lot probably in a short period of time. So you might be right, Stuart. Maybe the year and a half time period certainly still works to go ahead and put out a good movie, especially if they have been working behind the scenes already, maybe with pre-production ready to go for Taika. So we'll see what happens here, man. But I'm really excited to see what he has in store. I know, again, I will say this, Stuart, I am concerned. If I do have a concern, the concern would be how people will react to Thor Love and Thunder. If it's as
Mhm.
crazy as Taika Waititi says, will there be some pushback against the movie from fans? Will they be loud and worried about, oh, Taika Waititi doesn't know how to do Star Wars, I don't want him to mess up my Star Wars? Will that be a big push? And will Lucasfilm hear that?
Mhm.
I think he's somebody that can balance humor and drama extremely well. But it wouldn't surprise me if there are some people that get maybe a little bit frightened after seeing Thor: Love and Thunder. But we'll see, man. I think he can pull it off, though. I'm looking forward to it.
The only thing I see being or at least feeling very different, and this is just solely based on the one episode of Mandalorian he directed, I do feel like dialogue wise you might see Star Wars characters having conversations that you would never really hear in any other Star Wars movie,
Mm.
and that's solely based on the
Yeah.
two stormtroopers from the episode that he directed. And to be honest, like I thought the banter between the two of them was absolutely hilarious, so if they want to give us more of that, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm all for it too. But unfortunately, we got like these gatekeepers of Star Wars that like to tell us as a fan base what does and doesn't belong in Star Wars. And I think Taika Waititi can definitely nail it down. But
It's it's a giant galaxy, so I feel like
yeah.
there's not a lot that doesn't belong in that galaxy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But guys, let us know your thoughts. Taika Waititi could possibly be in front of his camera or behind the camera filming the Star Wars movie by the end of the year. If Lucasfilm does decide to hold on to the December 2023 release date, do you think that's a sufficient amount of time? Do you think they should push the movie back to give them a proper amount of time? Go ahead and certainly let us know your thoughts and what you personally would like to see from this Star Wars movie. Go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And with that, Stuart, I think that will wrap up all of our main topics today, guys. And don't worry, we will go ahead and put timestamps on every aspect of this week's episode once it's up and ready to go. So if you do want to return to the episode, you can certainly navigate it a lot easier. But with that out of the way, Stuart, I think you know what time it is, sir.
It's time for live viewer questions.
I think at some point we just need to record you saying that and have just an audio clip ready to go.
Hell yeah. Have
Uh,
like a post-production echo on it too. So it's like even the
mm.
echoes have an echo.
I love it. I love it. All right. So we got like 50 emails. So let's try and go through as many of these as we can. If anything, Stuart may try and do another live viewer question segment if we can't get through all of these today. So definitely look out for more of your questions to be answered earlier in the week, possibly dropping on Tuesday, but we'll see.
I really wanted to do a Friday, but unfortunately, this was 100% my bad. I totally blanked on it, and I didn't remember it until literally this morning that I
Oh,
was
you were
supposed
trying
to
to do
do that.
two of them in
Yeah, I was trying to do
oh, okay.
like that's why I put the first one as part one. I was going to do part two
Oh,
on
gotcha.
Friday, but
Gotcha.
like 100% blanked on it, so that was my bad. But I do want to try and continue it though on Tuesday, depending on how many questions we get through today. I want to try to finish it all by next Tuesday, or yeah, by this upcoming Tuesday.
Yeah,
That
no, we'll
is
we'll
the goal.
definitely get caught up here. So we'll pick and choose. I may not, if you guys have submitted questions, if you submitted like 3 questions in, I may pick and choose one or two. But we'll see. I'll try and get through as many as I can. Morgan Hutchinson, let's go ahead and kick this off right. What are your hopes and nervousness with the upcoming Willow series? Stuart, I will say, I know you didn't. I know you. I don't think you said you saw Willow before. Did you know Val Kilmer was in Willow?
I did not.
I think he played Mad Mardigan, I believe his name was. Um, I loved him in this movie. This was the first time I got introduced to Val Kilmer, and he was a fantastic sort of like thief swordsman that kind of helps Willow along his adventure sort of thing. Really cocky, arrogant guy, but it works so incredibly well. But Val Kilmer has definitely struggled with his own health issues. I think he was battling like throat cancer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So his health has been really terrible. And one of the biggest questions I had was, is Val Kilmer even going to be in this series? And I did read an article this week, and we have it posted up on our Facebook page, that Warwick Davis himself, the star of Willow, did say that Val Kilmer as Mad Mardigan will be in this series for sure, that he definitely has a significant role to play. So I'm really glad that despite the health issues of Val Kilmer, they managed to find a place to go ahead and introduce him into this. So that's one of my more excited bits and hopes for Willow certainly going forward.
What I think they're gonna do, because they did this in Top Gun, I think they're gonna basically recreate his voice with AI technology. So they might kind of dub him over with the AI.
Interesting. I kind of like that idea. Morgan also asked top 3 female lead superhero films. Plus, why do you think some people get upset when a certain actress becomes a main character in a film? I really love Brie Larson and Captain Marvel because people think they're taking over. I don't
Yeah.
know.
um, yeah, I'd say
Uh,
Wonder Woman is definitely my number one.
top three led superhero. Uh, top three female led superhero films. Who did you say?
Oh,
Wonder
Wonder
Woman.
Woman's definitely my number one.
Yeah, definitely number one. I would love to put Black Widow up there, but I can't. Captain Marvel for me, while I love Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of some of the aspects of the movie. Um, outside of Wonder Woman, another female-led superhero. I mean, if I want to go series, maybe WandaVision.
Mhm.
I would even say maybe even Doctor Strange 2 if you want to put her in there as like a co-lead for the movie. Um, but like female led, I'm trying to think what else we had. Harley Quinn was just okay. Damn, I'm trying to think of like a female led superhero movie that's knocked me on my ass, Stuart.
What's funny is I'm thinking of like a lot of 90s superhero movies like The
Okay.
Scorpion or Barbed Wire, but those are all really bad. I think my number two, God, what would I put as my number two? Probably Captain Marvel. I didn't Okay, so like when it comes to like the actual space side of Captain Marvel, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I just really like the scenes though where it's her and Nick Fury working together, because I think the two of them just had really great chemistry whenever they were like doing like a buddy cop thing. And then my number three, it's not necessarily a good movie, but it led to one of the best television shows ever. So I'm gonna go with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay, okay, I like it. Okay, here we go. I'll movie wise, God, because this is another reason why we do need more female superhero movies, Stuart. Because literally, the fact that there's like hardly any that we can name, as far as like that are just great. You know what I mean? That really
Mhm.
blow us away. Wonder Woman is probably number one. And I'm talking about the first one. They also have, believe it or not, New Mutants up here on this list as regards to like female led superheroes, because majority of the leads in there, Maisie Williams along with Anya Taylor-Joy. They even had Alice Braga in there too. I would definitely put New Mutants in there as a female led superhero movie, so I'm actually going to put New Mutants as number two, believe it or not, Stuart. And then I might round it out with Captain Marvel. I don't think New Mutants was as terrible of a movie as people make it out to be, but I can understand why it was certainly underwhelming. But for what it was, I really enjoyed the character and the premise of the story. So I'll go Wonder Woman, New Mutants, and then Captain Marvel to round out my top three.
I would put New Mutants in the same category as Morbius.
I look, I no shots there. I get it, man. I get it. And then maybe quickly followed by Birds of Prey. I might put
Mhm.
on there. And but that's just not a strong top three list, man. Like we definitely need some female led superhero movies. So come on, Batgirl. Let's go, Batgirl. Whatever else
Yes.
they got created, whatever else they're creating out there. So like anybody that wants to say or get pushed back on the idea of female led superhero movies, we don't got enough of them, if you ask me. So we'll see, man. Doomsday. For Stuart, which moment do you think was the most iconic? Avengers Assemble from Endgame or Spider-Man swinging together from Spider-Man No Way Home?
Oh, definitely Avengers Assemble, because as cool as the Spider-Man No Way Home thing was, it's not like there was something to really it's not like we expected this to happen like when from the first Tom Holland movie, so there was not really a build up to a moment like that. It just kind of like happened in the ever since the trailer dropped. That's when the hype for a shot like that came in, whereas like Captain America saying Avengers Assemble is something people wanted to see since the very first Avengers movie. And then when we finally got it, it was used so perfectly when you had like not only the full Avengers team, but like all the allies of the Avengers fighting side by side with them. So that's, I feel like because of the buildup, that would be slightly more iconic.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. That's a good choice, Stuart. I don't think there's any wrong answer, whatever you guys certainly prefer, but I've always loved that iconic moment too. Next up, Alexis Chavez. Hello, I'm Alexis. I found your YouTube channel. when I saw your video called Anime Assembled. Shout out to Indy and John Forsaken Powers, guys, for their Anime Assembled. If you guys are big anime fans, we do have a weekly show or sometimes bi-weekly, depending on people's schedules, for Anime Assembled. So definitely go ahead and check it out. It's hosted by Indy along with John Forsaken Powers. These guys, man, are encyclopedias when it comes to anime. If you want anybody that's super knowledgeable about that content, those are your guys. So thank you very much, Alexis. That usually drops every Saturday morning for you guys, or every other Saturday. So definitely keep an eye out for it. But she says, what were some of your favorite moments from any Star Wars films? And what do you want to see in the new Disney series with the one guy? I don't remember his name. What? I don't, if you don't know his name, I don't know his name, Alexis. So what we're I'm assuming maybe she's referring to Andor with that one guy. I feel like that's probably Cassian Andor that she's referring to. What are some of your favorite moments from Star Wars, and what do you want to see in the new Andor? I'll answer the Andor one if you want to do Star Wars moments. I'll throw out one Star Wars moment instead of a plethora of them. But when it comes to Andor, for me, I'm really excited to see the gray areas of the rebellion. The trailer for me, I thought was a great first trailer to understand the idea of the Empire coming and sort of taking over, right? Like the idea of these planets living their life peacefully, and then all of a sudden the Empire comes and truly changes the galaxy forever. I mean, you can feel the tide turning in that trailer, and just the idea of people fighting back, pushing back to keep their lives and fight for certainly what's theirs. And Cassian Andor is definitely one of those characters. And so for me, I'm really intrigued to kind of see how the Empire continues to rise in power, some of the things that they wind up doing, and not only how Cassian Andor becomes a part of the rebellion, but also the conversations that happen behind the scenes that we don't see when it comes to the things that the rebellion has to do in order to push back the Empire. Because unfortunately, it's not just good guys against bad guys. There is very much a gray area where the bad guys might have to do some shady things in order to kind of win, and to kind of see how that molds and shapes somebody like a Cassian Andor, I find really, really appealing, especially leading into a series like, or a movie like Rogue One. So I'm just excited the fact that we've got the same writer for Rogue One coming back to go ahead and do this movie, and I really want to see just the growth of Cassian, even Mon Mothma in here. I hope we get a returning Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera. I think that would even be great. And maybe even look, we just literally cast ourselves sort of a young Princess Leia for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maybe we get a quick shot of her and Bail Organa somewhere. You know, Jimmy Smith's back once again for her in this series. I think there's a lot of really great small cameos we can get. But I think for me, it's really going to be about the political aspect, and what the rebellion has to do in order to succeed. So yeah, a political thriller seems right up my alley, and I cannot wait to see how they create this. But what about you, Stuart, or if there are any favorite moments out of Star Wars that you might have?
For the Andor stuff, literally there's nothing I can add that you haven't already said. So I'm just gonna copy and then
Copy and paste.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Adam, I'm plagiarizing you. That being said, favorite Star Wars moments. God, I think my top one is probably Ben Kenobi's sacrifice is probably my favorite from A New Hope. Number two, probably, of course, would be the I am your father moment, just because when you really look back at episode 4 and then, you watch episode 5 after that, and then, of course, concluding it with episode 6, really just kind of, it's one of those movies where you rewatch it, and when you know the payoff, you have very different thoughts on how scenes play out. And it's not like a thought of, oh man, this doesn't make sense because this contradicts this. You're like, oh, this is what he meant by that. Oh, this is what he meant by that. Okay.
Yeah, I will say this, for me, my favorite moments when it comes to Star Wars, and I'll just pick one. There's so many. But as a kid growing up, Return of the Jedi was my favorite. By the time I got the opportunity to start watching movies, all these Star Wars movies, the originals had already come out in theaters. So I fell upon VHS tapes. And during that
Mhm.
time period for me, Return of the Jedi was like always easily accessible and ready to go for me. So it is one of the Star Wars movies I always kind of grew up on. And so for me, my favorite scene is probably the throne room scene at the very end, the confrontation with Luke, the Emperor, along with Vader, seeing the Emperor try to very calculate what Luke Skywalker is thinking, trying to pull him over to the dark side, seeing that struggle, and then just the reveal of Vader understanding that there's a sister involved, and the emotion of the level of emotion that Luke Skywalker exudes to not only protect his sister but also to try and redeem his father. I thought it was amazing, along with the great musical score as they're just battling with each other, chopping down some of the guardrails. I mean, it was just such an epic and beautiful battle, and an emotional one too, even all the way up to the scene of seeing Luke honor his father by burning him on the big pyre. It's one of my most beautiful shots in all of
Mhm.
Star Wars, seeing him standing in front of his father's pyre. But that whole throne room scene and the conclusion to the Darth Vader storyline, just beautiful to me, man. I absolutely loved it.
See, as a kid, Return of the Jedi was also my favorite. I think like growing up later, Empire became my favorite, but as a kid, it was perfect for me because you had that opening bit with Jabba's palace, which I'm not gonna lie, man, that scared the crap out of me as a kid. The creatures in that, the
Yeah,
little
it's
metal
creepy, bro.
spider thing that just like walks in the
That was
background,
creepy.
like
Yeah,
that scared me, man.
yeah.
And so when you go from that, and then you got the Ewoks to make it all better at the end, you end up feeling really good about yourself at the end of the movie because of that. I think it just had that perfect. I love movies that give me mixed emotions, and I think
Yes.
Return of the Jedi is the reason. That's what I love it when I look at movies. I think that's the reason I love feeling mixed emotions when I watch a movie is because of Return of the Jedi was like the first movie to really give me that feeling.
Yeah, make you feel a little bit of every emotion across the spectrum, you know? So that
Exactly.
definitely worked. He said, oh, she also says, correct me if I'm wrong, but why is it that both the Sony Venom films and Fantastic Four films have not been great? Would you ever like them to be revitalized by having a director that actually has magic? Maybe the guy who did Spider-Man movies for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, Sony, the production of Mediocrity, the production of Mediocrity Studios over there. Yeah, well, listen, I know some people were big fans of the Venom films. I unfortunately was not. I liked the first Fantastic Four movie. But after that first Fantastic Four movie, not so much. What do you call it? The fan four stick? Is that what you
Yeah.
call it? Yeah, we try and forget about that movie. But listen, making movies is not easy. Making movies is hard. Sometimes we think we've got the ingredients to go ahead and put together a film, and unfortunately sometimes it just does not land with the audiences, unfortunately. For some people, again, some people really enjoyed Venom. I personally wasn't one of them. But I do think with Fantastic Four now being in the hands at least of the MCU, I do have faith in Marvel that they'll go ahead and bring on a pretty big named director to go ahead and finally make the right Fantastic Four movie, or at least I'm keeping my fingers crossed. In the MCU, I trust personally. If Kevin Feige is helming the ship, then yeah, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure whoever they find will be a perfect fit. So I do think Fantastic Four will certainly be fine. Sony, on the other hand, we'll see. Can I say something real quick? Also, Stuart,
Go
I
for
don't
it.
I don't want to I don't want to fully apologize to Sony at this point, but I did finally get the opportunity to check out Uncharted, and you know what, Stuart? Not that bad of a movie.
Okay.
I actually thought it was a pretty good little adventure flick. Um, and that's pretty much all I'll say about it. I mean, I actually found myself having a pretty enjoyable time watching it. I wasn't something I was writing home about, but it was a lot better than I honestly thought it had any business being, or at least that I personally thought it was going to be. So, not too bad. Not too bad. I'll give them a pass
I
on that one.
I was laughing so I had to like literally bite my lip to prevent myself from laughing from this moment because I'm trying to be professional. But when I was like working at the movie theater, right? Or I still am working at this particular movie theater. We because it's also a restaurant, we're constantly running in and out of the theaters to drop off foods to different customers. So there was the flashback scene that played for Nathan Drake, and I had to bite my tongue or bite my lip to stop myself from laughing hell loud when I saw that the younger person who plays Nathan Drake had a deeper voice than Tom Holland. I thought that was hilarious.
I
But
would,
as for like,
on top of that, I will say I think that's for me was one of my biggest hurdles in this movie while watching it is that even though I know Tom Holland's a grown ass man, he looks 12 to me. Every
he
time I
does.
see him, I'm like, do you age at all? Can we get some older makeup on you or something? But every time I see him, he always reminds me of a 12-year-old, and it's hard for me to wrap
Really
my head
is a
around anything
modern.
else.
He's like a modern Michael J. Fox,
He
honestly.
really is. He really is.
Then oh yeah, so the Venom thing, or just Sony and Fantastic Four. Yeah, like I don't know, like for me, Fantastic Four 1 and 2, I like you said, I also didn't mind the first Fantastic Four movie, but they both kind of felt very phoned in, if that makes sense. Whereas Fan Four Stick, even though I'm very harsh on that movie and I acknowledge that, I will say this, that movie did feel like it was trying to be unique and try something different. I just don't think it worked with what they were trying to do. But at least like I'm finally going to give this movie credit and finally acknowledge at least this movie did try to do something very unique with the characters. And then for Venom, I think the problem with those movies is that the first Venom very much phoned in. Like you can look at interviews with the director and he just straight up admits like I only did this movie so they would let me do Zombieland 2. um, and then I think with Venom 2, even though you had a different director who seemed to really, really want to make this a good movie, they also wanted to keep it very much in line with Venom 1 because Venom 1, even if it was phoned in, it was still a success. So I'm sure he wanted to have his own like somewhat different direction because there were a lot of things that felt kind of different in the second movie, but you also couldn't change too much because again, the first movie was a success. So I'm sure Sony was just telling him, okay, don't change it too much from what we've already established.
Let's see here. Comment here from good old Sunny Shields. What do you guys think of the MCU Phase 4? I feel like it's kind of disconnected with a lot of highs and lows, but I'm hoping it could start to get something cohesive like the Infinity Saga.
I kind of like that it's not cohesive currently. I kind of like how each movie really feels like they're just kind of setting up new storylines for their own solo movies. Like you could still have like the big Avengers movies down the line, but I like how they don't really have to limit their storytelling with having to set up like the big story of Phase 4. It seems like right now they're just focusing, like they're doing it very much how DC is doing it pretty much, except for Marvel, I feel like really built up to finally being able to make movies this way, whereas DC kind of skipped the whole build up part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely expect Phase 4 to certainly do things unique and different than it did with the first Infinity Saga. They have mentioned the idea of making more individual movies, maybe even some more event films and build up to more event films than, say, those event films being Avengers movies. I still don't know when we're going to be getting our next Avengers movie. It could be certainly years away. I mean, I understand and get some of the pushback that people are having so far, saying that it feels very incoherent and kind of a little bit all over the place. But I do think similar to Phase 1, we have a lot more characters that we're certainly setting up and trying to establish. We're in a much different place in the MCU than when we first started, as we do have ourselves an officially a built up world, and now we're getting the opportunity to examine new characters that are kind of within that world that we sort of kind of established already. So while I will agree, it does feel a little incoherent. I think that was one of my complaints, is that it feels like we've got so many different storylines that are just kind of beginning that it does feel a little bit all over the place. But you're right. I do think maybe those are storylines that might be resolved within their own upcoming trilogies or whatever the case may be. But maybe there is an overall bigger plan that Kevin Feige has in store where eventually we'll get to another Avengers moment or another big sort of event film. I will say this, while it seems a little bit rocky right now, give Marvel the benefit of the doubt and the time to really build up to something here. They've done it fantastically well with the Infinity Saga. Can they capture that same magic again? Maybe not as great as the Infinity Saga, but I definitely do think they can put something pretty incredible together. So just give it time. Some patience, I would say. Patience.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Phase 4 is the beginning of a new saga. It's
Right.
so, the Infinity Saga was literally 3 different phases, and this is now like all just the beginning of a new saga. So it makes sense that everything could, even if it all does end up connecting together, if I'm completely wrong and they're not setting up their own movies that all leads to one big thing. The big thing about that is that that's going to take time. Remember that the Infinity Saga was a 11-year process, because we went from Iron Man all the way to Endgame in 2019. So, patience is what I'm saying.
And I also think too, the idea that we're getting so much content now, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Whereas before it was at least spread out and pretty well defined. Whereas now it's just like there's a project every week, it feels like,
Yeah.
or every month, right? So the idea of it feeling like it's all over the place, I definitely get it. But there are connective pieces that build to it. I mean, you look at WandaVision, you look at Loki, you look at Doctor Strange. They're definitely all elements that certainly work together, and even Loki building to something even bigger as well. You know what I mean? So I definitely get it. I definitely get the concern that people do have. Jericho Gonzalez next. What do you guys do you guys know anyone who works at a movie theater? There you go, Stuart. What
Me.
what's it like working in that field? And when you go to watch movies when you're not working, do you watch at the same place you work at, or do you go somewhere else?
It really depends. A lot of times I find myself going somewhere else only because you get like the weird feeling in the back of your head when you go to a place that you work at that you're supposed to be working. Uh, you know, so but with that being said, the theater I work at is one of the coolest movie theaters ever. So I do try to go there on my downtime whenever I can. But for me, it's just like easier to do it if I have an opening shift and then I can do it after work. If I have a day off, I kind of prefer going to a different theater. Not gonna lie, even though I think our theater is superior. But yeah, it's a fun job overall. I mean, there are issues I have with it, but it's literally the same issues you'll have literally almost any workplace that you go to. I think the main one being is that, and this is why I'm done like managing any places anymore. I'm done being a manager, which is what I've done at so many different, whether it's a movie theater or Noah's Bagels. It's just I've never had fun being a manager, and I think what it comes down to is the thing that sucks the most is that you're in the high enough position to take the blame for everything that goes wrong, but you're not in a high enough position to
To get the
actually
praise?
fix the
Oh,
issue. No,
oh,
to fix
oh,
the issues,
I get you. I get you. Yeah.
you're just there to take the complaints when they come in, and it
Ah,
sucks.
yeah.
So that's why I am now done with management. I think if I ever do it again, it's going to be for my own theater that I will open up one day, if that ever happens, which would be kind of fun.
Um, and second question from Jericho: what were your reaction when the first Matrix movie was released, and what did it do in pop culture and the movie industry?
I'm a youngin, so even though I was alive when it got released, I didn't understand what the hype was around it. Because to me, when you're like 4 years old, you don't really notice like the difference between like a high budget like blockbuster and then just an episode of Star Trek. So when I used to love The Matrix as a kid, I didn't realize how important of a movie it was until I really started getting into film back in middle school. But yeah, it's one of my favorite movies even today. I used to watch it all the time on VHS, but of course now with HD, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I used to watch it like this.
Did you say you were 4 years old when that movie came out?
Yeah, that movie came out in 1999, right?
God, I'm so fucking old.
No, no, I'm
God, I'm
so fucking
just
young.
yeah, I was 17 when that movie came out, or 16, maybe going on to 17 when that movie came out. I do remember seeing it in theaters. And I remember it blowing my mind. I was just like, it was pretty trippy. Not that it ever had me questioning my own reality, but I thought it was a really cool premise and a unique take on a story I'd never really felt like I had seen before, told before. And then, of course, towards the end, get an opportunity to not only see Neo rebirth, but then also to see him fly at the very end, and a sick soundtrack that they had attached to Matrix. It was pretty incredible, man. I absolutely loved it.
It was like, okay, so my mom, she was decently religious when we were growing up. The Matrix was like one of those few R-rated movies that she was totally okay with me watching over and over again because it really, I think she even agreed with me. There was really nothing in that movie that really came off as an R-rated movie. If I feel like if that exact movie were released today, it would have been PG-13.
Yeah, it probably would have been PG-13. I think if there was anything rated R, it's probably maybe from like disturbing images, like the whole mouth thing,
Oh
the
yeah.
creature going inside the belly button. You know what I mean? I think probably along those lines. But that was rated R back in the day.
Yeah, it's weird. I never understood. Like Matrix 2, I totally get why that
Oh,
was rated
absolutely,
R because you had like that
absolutely.
orgy scene.
Yeah,
But I still don't get it with the first movie.
that's interesting. Okay, I'll have to go. Interesting. Okay, yeah, it definitely would be PG-13 now though. Carter Matthews, any game, movie, or fandom that should be revived or not revived?
Game, movie, or like, I mean, quite a few that I would love to see come back. I don't necessarily think I can't really think of anything that shouldn't because I mean, as long as it's coming back with a new vision,
I will
I don't
say
see why
this,
not.
and this will be a hot topic button. Um, Stuart, I was always a really big believer in not ever rebooting or reviving this movie. But I'm gonna throw this out here. It's never gonna happen. But somebody said something to me this week, and I was like, "Wow, really? Back to the Future."
Mhm.
Um, God, it's like just blasphemy talking about rebooting it. Listen, we always going to have the classic Back to the Future trilogy. It's always going to be there if we want to go ahead and check it out again. But somebody mentioned the idea that Back to the Future 2, when he goes to the future, that's now 2015. I believe that, and I'm like, bro, that we're in 2022 now. Um, if that's the future for that movie, I think it's time for a reboot. So I would be open if Robert Zemeckis ever gave, you know, his praise to allow it to happen, which he won't until he hits the grave. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't mind the idea of a new Back to the Future trilogy that uses different time points now at this point.
I would have wanted guy, and I don't even know if I would have wanted it to be called Back to the Future necessarily, but I feel like it would have been the best title. But I would have wanted like a 2015 sort of reboot of the series where it's the exact same plot but completely different characters and not even in the same universe.
I
Essentially,
guess.
just have it be like a real world 2015 character going back in time to the 80s, and I think it would have been perfect back then because 80s nostalgia was huge in the in like the 2015s, and now it's kind of become more 90s
90s.
nostalgia has become
Mhm.
really huge. So if you were to do it now, I think you'd want to have it go you'd want to have your character go back in time to the 90s. But I mean, essentially, you don't even have to have your character be like a Marty McFly. Like you could do whatever you want with that character. Just make sure the themes are very similar. What
And
I
they
loved
are
is
creating a
yeah.
brand new DeLorean also, I believe.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
I believe there's a new design for a DeLorean out there now.
But I always love that idea of the theme that he went with, which it happened when he looked at his dad's yearbook, Robert Zemeckis, when he saw like his dad was a jock and he looks at himself in high school and how he's kind of like an introvert. He's like, would my dad and I have been friends if we were in high school? And that alone is like the fun premise. And heck, this is actually a movie you could gender reverse and it would still be a fun movie
Ah.
if you had like a daughter going back in time and then meeting her mom and preventing her mom from meeting her dad, that kind of a thing.
That
I
would
think
be
you
pretty
still
interesting.
you could have had like a good gender. Like I'm normally not a fan of that kind of, like I wasn't the biggest fan when they did that in 2016's Ghostbusters, but for
Oh,
this I
yeah.
feel like there would actually have been a purpose for gender reversing it, and I think it actually could have worked out really well. So I don't know. It's like I get why you wouldn't necessarily want to call it Back to the Future, but I do think that premise is something I'd really like to see be utilized more with movies. Like every 10 years have like another movie where it's like a different character going back to a different generation and then suddenly seeing a new side of their parents that they had never seen before.
Yeah, I do like the idea. And Again, I know just talking about a Back to the Future reboot for some people is blasphemous. Don't touch it. It's perfect. Because I love Back to the Future is probably honestly my favorite movie of all time. The very first one. I absolutely love Back to the Future. And so yeah, I do feel a sense of ownership to it and don't really want to see it touched. But somebody did mention the idea that the future in that movie is 2015, and I'm like, yeah, man, I think it's time. I think it's time, but we'll see. Again, it's never going to happen, but we'll see. Adam Pereira's got a couple questions. I'll pick and choose a couple here. With Mission Impossible about to be in its 7th installment, has the entire franchise been very positive when it came to reviews and box office numbers? And what other projects that Tom Cruise has been a part of that weren't so great movie-wise? Well, I will say, if you want to bring up box office numbers, you probably can. But I gotta imagine that look, if you're going to keep making Mission Impossible movies, they got to be making bank at the box office to be able to go 7 deep, if that. But I feel like for the most part, this series has been relatively positive. I think maybe its biggest hiccup, probably came in Mission Impossible 2. But I think once they got J.J. Abrams on board for Mission Impossible 3, I think all trajectory and signs really started kind of pointing up from that point on, or not. I could be wrong, but I feel like for the most part, all of them are really smash hits, with the exception of maybe the second film, which does show some really great action sequences. I can't remember if that was like a John Woo directed film or if he did the action as an action director. I can't remember, but some great motorcycles action sequences in there as well, is what I remember really from Mission Impossible 2. I don't really even remember the storyline elements so far, but I feel like each time I watch a Mission Impossible movie, I kind of want more. I kind of want to see another one.
Yeah, I think the biggest indicator as to the fact that they're doing a lot in box office is that the budgets for all of them keep getting higher and higher, and they wouldn't be doing that if the numbers weren't getting higher and higher in box office.
Good point. Good point. Any projects that Tom Cruise has been a part of that weren't so great movie wise?
I'm just gonna do an IMDb search on this one.
The Mummy. Sure. Anybody?
Yeah, the Mummy wasn't a good movie. Not gonna lie.
I don't know how the Night and Day with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz was. I don't know how that went over with people. I can't remember if I've ever seen that one before. Jack Reacher, I think, had 2 movies. I don't know if they were super successful, but I personally enjoyed them. Oblivion, maybe. I don't think people were big fans of the Oblivion movie, the sci-fi movie from him back in 2013.
That one wasn't too good, unfortunately. I liked the premise, but it didn't work as well as I was hoping.
I mean, Tom Cruise is a pretty well-established actor. I mean, Vanilla Sky, maybe, Eyes Wide Shut. I feel like those are maybe more cult classics for people than anything. I don't know how well those 2 movies did, but I feel like he doesn't really attach himself to too many bad projects.
I totally forgot he was in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, he was in Tropic Thunder. Yeah, that's a great one.
And then Edge of Tomorrow was actually one that I think is kind of underrated. Like, I think it did all right in box office, but no one really talks about it much. But that was a fun movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Edge of Tomorrow. I thought that was actually a pretty fun one as well. Yeah, I'm sure he probably's got some stinkers in there, but I would challenge anybody to say he's got more stinkers than bad ones. He's got a great catalog, man. A great catalog.
Yeah, so far the Mummy is like the only one I'm looking through that I'm not the biggest fan of.
Yeah, other ones I can deal with. Any other fandom or franchise you would really like to see Tom Cruise be a part of?
Wouldn't mind seeing him play a role of some sort in like one of the James Bond movies. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh my God, I would love to see that. That would be an
unofficial James Bond meets Mission Impossible.
Bro,
like, I wouldn't want him to play like the Mission Impossible character that he plays, but I would want him to play like either another agent working with Bond or like a villain or like a secret villain, actually.
But give me Tom Cruise and Fast and the Furious, bro.
Oh my God, yes.
Give me Tom Cruise in the Fast and the Furious movie, like the final movie,
villain.
The final boss.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Give it to me. Give it to me. Anybody can say Marvel movies, DC movies, but yeah, give us Give us Fast and the Furious. And what was the one you said, Stuart?
Uh,
The James Bond.
James Bond.
Yeah,
Knowing,
man.
knowing Tom Cruise, if he was ever in a Fast and Furious movie, he would be like, no, no, no. I need to actually get training so I can actually take on Vin Diesel in a real fight. And we're not when the two of us film our fight, it's not going to be choreographed. We're actually going to tussle.
Yo, definitely. That's Tom Cruise for you all day. CGI. Why do you need CGI for this scene? Come on, we could do. Like, damn, bro. All right. Next couple of questions. Good old Kurt Marino in the house. What do you think of the classic X-Men film franchise versus the new one with younger versions of the team, like with Jennifer Lawrence, etc.? Would you ever like to see the OG cast members return someday, even for just a quick cameo? I think the one who played Cyclops or the Blue Beast guy did return for the most recent X-Men solo film. I feel like even the actress that's played Phoenix and Jean Grey, I feel like she's popped up a couple of times before as a quick cameo someplace here or there.
Well, Days of Future Past was the one that gave all of them
All
like
of
a
them.
lot of closure, and they kind of rewrote the elements of X-Men 3 that not a lot of people liked. So they, brought back Jean. They, brought back, of course, Professor Xavier, and we even got like a cool cameo from Beast for that brief moment.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you think of the classic X-Men film franchise versus the new one?
I mean, I think they're kind of just on par with each other. They
Yeah.
both have some great hits and some terrible misses. Like I thought Apocalypse and I especially didn't like what was not New Mutants, but the one
Dark
before it,
Phoenix?
Dark Phoenix. I
Uh,
really didn't like that one. But I can also say with the same with the original cast movies like X-Men Origins. I thought was terrible. X-Men 3 wasn't very
mhm.
good, but I love X-Men 1 and 2, just like I love X-Men First Class. And I loved, like, actually, I'd say that my second favorite movie of the whole X-Men franchise is probably Days of Future Past, followed, right underneath Logan.
Yeah, so would you put? I guess you would probably put Logan in that classic X-Men film too. But I agree. I mean, I think for the most part, the classic X-Men and the new X-Men did what they needed to do. They didn't have a
Mhm.
perfect trilogy, but they had some bangers. They had some pretty good, solid films. I mean, X-Men's 1 and 2 were fantastic. They were classics, especially X2. Some people still have that as their favorite movie, maybe second or third film on their list of favorite X-Men films. When you look at the younger versions, I was actually a really big fan of the cast. I did find it odd of Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique getting as much lead as she certainly did. If there was any other direction, I probably would have gone. I might have messed around with that just a little bit more, but she was at her height during that time. So I definitely get why they pushed her to the forefront the way that they certainly did. But even that, the first one, First Class, was a great movie. The second one, I can't remember, was the Days of Future Past. Fantastic. I think for me, my hiccup, definitely like you, Stuart, was Apocalypse. But I did honestly, I didn't mind Dark Phoenix as much. Do I think it lived up to expectations? Absolutely not. But I think based off of Simon Kinberg being his very first directorial debut, trying to make the story maybe not as cosmic, but a little bit smaller. I thought storyline wise, what he did with it was enjoyable, but definitely nowhere near as to the Dark Phoenix story that I expected or certainly wanted for myself. But I didn't mind the movie. I thought it was okay for what it certainly was, but definitely probably my second least favorite of all the younger versions that we got. But overall, I think they've had a great legacy, man. I can't really look back and say anything overly negative about X-Men without seeing the really great good that it did over the years.
Yeah, I fully agree with that statement there.
He also says, what do you think of seasons one? Hold on. What do you think of seasons 4 and 5 of the Netflix series Cobra Kai being filmed back to back? Season 5 had concluded filming before season 4 was released on Netflix. To me, I think that just shows the fact that it's definitely a connected season. And I think if you can, like story elements from that probably still play a really big significant role here in season 5. But I kind of like it. If it's going to save you money budgetary wise, you also know that some of your stars are going on to do bigger things in their career, especially Jolo Maraduena being Blue Beetle. If you've got him for that long, film as much as you can, because he might be a pretty busy guy after season 5, and maybe have to work around his schedule a little bit more after that. But it makes all the sense in the world for me. But to me, it lets me know there's a lot of connective pieces between the two.
Okay, question. Was it you that was saying Johnny's kid kind of looks like Val Kilmer?
I don't think that was me.
Okay, someone said it to me a while ago, and I was like, I really don't see that. But then I recently rewatched, Top Gun, and I kind of see it now. Not gonna
Oh
lie.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's weird. Like they seem like they shouldn't look anything alike, but like kind of there's just something about their facial expression, like the weird facial expressions they both give feel very similar. It's bizarre.
No, I definitely have to definitely go back and check it out. I didn't pick up on it, but I definitely will have to check it out. Jack Daniels, what do you think of the character Shuri and Black Panther? What do you think of the character of Shuri and Black Panther Wakanda Forever going to take the mantle as Black Panther when the movie does a tribute to Chadwick Boseman? Well, it hasn't been confirmed that Shuri is going to be the next Black Panther or take up the mantle as of yet. I think we're kind of under the assumption. I remember still when it was a huge push for people
Mhm.
after seeing the first Black Panther movie, or after seeing Endgame and stuff, like, hey, if we do need to have a new Black Panther, man, Shuri should be the next one up, sort of thing. There was always a big push, and then clearly the pandemic happened, and everybody has their own personal feelings about the Shuri character now. So I don't think it's been confirmed. Do you still think that she's next up to bat, or do you think they'll surprise us and have somebody else take up the mantle?
I feel like if she was going to be the next Black Panther, it would have been announced by now, but I could
Yeah.
be wrong. I'm kind of expecting them to take a very different direction that none of us are really going to see coming. But yeah, I definitely ask me this question again though once the trailer
The
comes
trail
out.
drops. Yeah, I think that's the assumption for everybody. And I think because nobody's mentioned anything, or they haven't had a big announcement. I mean, look, this is very tread lightly territory, when it comes to Black Panther, how you handle it based off of the passing of Chadwick Boseman, people's own opinions in regards to Letitia Wright and things like that. So this does feel like a very tread lightly type of area. So maybe that's something they don't want to announce beforehand,
Mhm.
and let people kind of experience the movie for themselves. But I agree with you. I think they've come up with a solution that maybe is thinking out of the left field, and something that we haven't, I don't want to say haven't thought of, but maybe not the most anticipated results. So I don't know. This be on alert. Be on alert.
Yeah.
That it may not be Shuri.
I mentioned this to Indy when we were talking about this, but like, yeah, man, the writers for Black Panther definitely have it the hardest currently. I think.
God, absolutely, bro. I would not.
I hope they're getting paid well.
I hope so. Or at least, yeah, paid well and rewarded extremely well for all their hard work and trying to put this together. Because yeah, I would not want to be in their shoes. What
Mhm.
other movie do you know of that had a similar situation where the lead actor passed away before a new movie would be in development? And how did that movie do to honor to replace that fallen actor? Do you recall another moment like this happening?
Let me Google this real quick because I actually can't think of one off the top of my head.
I can't think of one either. Especially the idea of like coming out of the gate swinging with the huge first movie, passing away and not being there for the second. I mean, the only person I could think of is like Carrie Fisher. When it comes to
Oh
Star
yeah,
Wars, her playing a big role in The Force Awakens. And I think she passed away right after the filming of The Last Jedi, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe
it
even
was
like
a little bit
during.
afterwards, if I remember correctly. It was after they were done filming, but like during post production of the movie.
So I do think I feel like that's maybe the closest that we've come before for something like that happening
There
that
was
I can
also
recall.
There was also oh crap, what's his name? Brandon, I think Brandon Lee, right? For the Crow.
For the Crow.
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
they were I don't even know if they were actually planning on making a sequel when they were filming the first movie, but with him passing away during the first movie, they definitely, they weren't able to use him for the second. And then the other one too is I heard that they originally had like a lot of plans for Heath Ledger in a third Batman movie after The Dark Knight, but of course that also unfortunately wasn't able to go through.
So yeah, I mean, the idea of the rebounding from the death of your main star and doing a sequel and changing it up. I mean, I don't think Crow 2 ever did that well, even though I think it's probably maybe still a cult classic. Like if you're diehard fans of the first Crow, maybe you like Crow 2. I don't know. I've never checked out the second one. And with the Carrie Fisher situation, we saw how that was handled in Rise of Skywalker. They did utilize, I believe, her daughter, I think, for some motion capture and then like de-aged her face of Carrie Fisher over her daughter. Is that what they did, Stuart, with that one? And some like
No, they
back
took like
shots.
they took well maybe for the back shots, but I know that for the shots we see of her, they took unused footage from episode 7, which
Mm.
I think was a terrible idea because the dialogue they gave her when interacting with Ray, it really felt like very forced dialogue. Like they had to force it to make sense, and it felt way too obvious. Like it felt like the lines were only written a specific way because those were the only lines they had to utilize. Yeah. And then, one last example: Philip Seymour Hoffman during the filming of the last Hunger Games movie.
Oh shit, that's right. I do remember, man, he was such a great actor. He was in
Yeah.
we were just talking about Mission Impossible, right?
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 3. He was the villain on JJ Abrams Mission Impossible 3. Great, man, great villain in there too. God, I miss that guy. Such a great talent. Nicole Robertson has got a couple questions. Hey, y'all. Hope you're having an amazing weekend. We are, Nicole. Hope you are too. Without spoiling anything, what did you think of the premiere of the new Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series? And how does it differ when it comes to viewing experiences seeing Obi-Wan again on the small screen since Revenge of the Sith Star Wars prequel?
Dude, this feels like a perfect sequel to Revenge of the Sith, to my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like even if we didn't get any of the Star Wars content that came before with Disney, if like let's say this was the first Star Wars we had gotten in so long, it would feel very much like something earned. It feels very much like something in line with what George Lucas. The only thing that feels slightly different from what we would have gotten, I think, if this was a George Lucas production, is like the Inquisitors. I don't think would have been in it. I feel like the only villain you would have had would have been like Vader, and then probably a bunch of high generals, stormtroopers. But other than that, I think my favorite thing about this is that it really does feel like that kind of perfect, visions from George Lucas, but being utilized a little bit better than I think George Lucas can do. Because I think I mentioned this before. Like my biggest issue with the prequels is that no one could say no to George Lucas. So even though George Lucas, I think, has a brilliant mind, I think even brilliant minds need an editor. And unfortunately, I don't think there was enough of people like basically kind of editing a lot of his ideas. But this feels like what you would have gotten if George Lucas, wrote an Obi-Wan series and then someone else were to like rewrite it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything you said is just spot on to describing this Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and I mentioned it earlier too. It feels like it's got the weight of that type of story to it, and for me, it just really getting the opportunity. I think one of the enjoyable aspects that I've enjoyed is really seeing the journey of Obi-Wan along with where sort of Darth Vader is definitely at, and I think there's plenty more story to certainly be told. But there is something really spectacular about seeing those connective tissues from Revenge of the Sith, how these characters have changed, and really given a glimpse as to where it's going to lead into A New Hope. And I think for me, really just seeing their emotional and mental states that they kind of find them in, and just really the people that they've turned out to be after not seeing them over the past 10 years or so. I think they've really nailed it, honestly. Again, I have my issues with some of the storyline details. And again, I will let the series certainly play itself out, but it feels very much like a worthy follow up to Revenge of the Sith.
I will say there is a funny plot hole continuity error, but this was also a thing from Revenge of the Sith, though, so it's like not really like the show could do much about it. But I always found it funny that like in Return of the Jedi, Leia does mention that she remembers her real mother, that she passed away when she was young, but that she remembered her. But of course, in Revenge of the Sith, we realize that can't possibly be the case because she died at birth.
Yeah. She definitely does mention that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of a plot hole there for sure. Nicole also asked, what would you like to see uh in Thor: Love and Thunder and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Well, let's take the second half of that. Do you think Love and Thunder might give a small segue for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
I feel like there might be a little bit of a setup, and I say that because it seems like that in the trailer, it looks like the Guardians really just drop him off on Earth and then just kind of like leave afterwards. So I feel like you're going to hear them say, "Oh, we got this mission we got to do," and then that mission will be what we see in
Oh.
Guardians 3. That's what I think could happen.
I am wondering if maybe this will lead into their holiday special, though. I do
Oh,
I
yes.
do wonder that, but I'm in agreement with you. I think we maybe see him for like the first 15 minutes of the movie, and then after that, I think they go off and do their own thing. Who do you think will have a fatal impact in both movies? I think a couple people might be dying in Guardians of the Galaxy. I definitely do think Drax is biting the dust, and maybe Mantis.
Hmm. I don't know if I'm expecting any deaths. I'm just really hoping it may be cheesy, but I really hope there's some way James Gunn is able to give Gamora her old memories back. Cause like I thought, it does kind of suck that like all those movies of developing her character, now her character has to kind of like start all over again. You know what I mean? So I hope we kind of get her back to where she was when she last left off.
Beforehand, yeah, I would certainly love that, honestly. Good old Abase, DCEU versus the MCU. Anyone else who's a fan of both franchises feel like MCU stuff is way better than the DCEU stuff as of late?
As of late, actually, I'd say DC's really been stepping up a lot. I just think, again, I think the destination of where they're both at is great. I just think Marvel had a much better journey getting there.
I would ask you, what stuff do you think DC is doing that's on par right now?
Oh, a lot of their the fact that they have James Gunn
Oh, you mean like, okay,
basically,
not
yeah,
just
working
you're
with
not
them.
looking at just movies. Okay,
Oh, well, I am looking at movies too, but
okay.
I'm looking more at like kind of in the television side of things too, like the fact that they have James Gunn working on not only a Peacemaker season 2, but like another spinoff of Suicide Squad, supposedly Ratcatcher, but I don't think that's been confirmed yet. And
No.
then also just on the movie side of things, a lot of things that they've been showing that's going to be coming out recently, like Black Adam looks absolutely fantastic. And then same with the fact that we got like a really awesome comic book accurate looking Blue Beetle and Batgirl
Mhm.
movie. Those two get me extremely excited. I just wish we could have had like kind of some more, at least a couple more solid like buildups to this, like, now it kind of developed universe. I wish we could have gotten at least like one more definitive Justice League movie where it's the Justice League from beginning to end and not just the Justice League assembling.
Yeah, no, I get you there. Yeah, I'm fans of both franchises. I mean, yeah, I still think that the MCU is still putting together way better films than what DCEU is doing right now, but that's not to crap completely on the DCEU. I mean, I've loved the Batman that they came out with.
Mhm.
I thought James Gunn's The Suicide Squad was fantastic. You can look back at Wonder Woman 1984, not so great. Birds of Prey, while I personally enjoyed it, it's definitely not like top tier DCEU. Aquaman was great. Shazam was pretty enjoyable, but that's, if you're not into comedy like that, it maybe just didn't hit people that way. So I do think that DCEU certainly started with the shaky ground, but the turning of the tide certainly looks like it's comforting to me. Again, the Suicide Squad, the Batman movie. We also have Black Adam. Shazam looks like it's going to be a great movie. Just looking out at the things that are set to come. The Flash, again, people are having high praise for the Flash movie. So as of right now, I think DCEU is finding its footing, but I would definitely say that I still think the MCU continues to dish out great stuff, but they definitely have that advantage of having done so very early on, hitting the ground running very early on. He says, I'm still somewhat of the fan of the DCEU, and I can't wait for some of the other stuff that's been announced to come out. But lately, I've just been feeling about their new stuff that may be hit or miss. I'm more excited about the upcoming MCU stuff. And I think there's still a jury out in regards to the next batch of DCEU movies. But again, everything that I've seen so far has been great. But Warner Brothers is awesome at putting together fantastic trailers and maybe not always delivering in regards to their movies. But I think the sightings of the Suicide Squad movie and the Batman do give me some hope for the future announced movies, like you mentioned. Roberto Bueno. Roberto Bueno, you know how John Watts, who was the director of Tom Holland's Spider-Man trilogy, dropped out of the upcoming MCU Fantastic Four film? Whoever the director will replace John Watts or Fantastic Four for Fantastic Four, and when the movie does eventually arrive in theaters, do you think going into the movie you will have a careful mind, like if the movie doesn't do so well? It's understandable since you know that John Watts leaving the project could be a missed opportunity, and the film itself wouldn't be what you wished it. I mean, listen, I think I'm going to go into the Fantastic Four movie clearly with an open mind, regardless of who it is. I mean, even if it was John Watts, who had a fantastic trilogy of Spider-Man movies, just based off of the past of Fantastic Four movies, I think there should always be a little bit of a worry and concern. But I trust Marvel to hire the correct people for the job, right? We had Scott Derrickson that was supposed to be the director for Doctor Strange 2. That didn't work out. And look, they rebounded and got them a Sam Raimi, who I thought did a marvelous job. So, and I have heard rumors that Kevin Feige wants to go with a really big director for Fantastic Four. So to depart somebody like John Watts and want to get somebody else even bigger than that at this point, yeah, it gives me hope that whoever takes over will certainly know what they're doing. I heard somebody suggest the idea of Steven Spielberg coming in and doing a Fantastic Four movie. And you know, honestly, if we're dealing with the cosmic and things like that, and Marvel's first family, I kind of would be open to seeing a Steven Spielberg MCU film. I don't think we're going to go that big though, but it was a pretty bold prediction and theory that I saw. But yeah, I regardless of who it is, I'm always going to go in having an open mind though.
I remember you suggested a director that I was really into. For me personally, I think my top pick is Matthew Vaughn. But yeah, you know, with John Watts leaving Fantastic Four, honestly, I don't blame him because yeah, I feel like anyone would get fatigued after doing 3 big blockbuster superhero movies in a row. Plus, when you have the opportunity to work on a Star Wars movie or another superhero movie, of course, I don't blame him for wanting to choose Star Wars over that. But I wasn't really that bummed when he left, only because even though I really like Spider-Man, he wasn't really my first choice to begin with. So, Matthew Vaughn, fingers crossed. But I mean, again, depending on who they get, I'll probably, be excited regardless. I would be very surprised if Marvel hired a director that I wouldn't be happy with for Fantastic Four, because Marvel usually is extremely smart about who they hire for their projects.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I'll even throw out again, he showed up in Doctor Strange 2. So spoilers, guys. Spoilers if you still haven't seen Doctor Strange 2. It's been quite some time. It's going to be releasing, I think, on Disney Plus here rather soon. I think this month, if I'm not mistaken. But John Krasinski,
Yeah.
he's directed a couple of films in his life. I mean, I don't know if he's like big time, but I mean, John Krasinski, he's no slouch.
It'd be funny actually if they got John Krasinski to direct, but they didn't have him playing Mr. Fantastic. Because what I love about with Doctor Strange is they kind of put it in a position where it's like, if they want to, they can continue this, but they don't have to because of the multiverse. So I think that was actually pretty smart about it.
And yeah, it's a possibility for sure. And then he says, I really want to ask Adam, since he's the main host of A Plus More Phenomenal, what do you guys think of Dino Fury as a series so far? And what do you hope for the 30th anniversary? I'll let you answer that one, Stuart.
I'm really enjoying Dino Fury. It's obviously, there's some hiccups here and there because it's Power Rangers, and of course you got to expect that, especially because knowing that it was originally written as 1 season and then expanded into 2 seasons, I think for what they've done with that, it's been quite amazing. And I love that for the first time in a long time for Power Rangers, we have scenes where it's just characters talking to each other about things that aren't necessarily fully plot related. It's just cool ways to get to know the characters more and help them develop as people going forward. It feels the most in a lot of ways, it feels the most, as silly as it is, it feels the most down to earth Power Rangers that we've gotten in a while, and I really like that aspect about it.
Yeah, me too. I definitely would echo everything that you've said. As far as what I would like to see in the 30th anniversary, for me personally, I really do like some of the rumors that I've been hearing of us being introduced to a brand new character by the name of Yen. If that's the name that they continue to stick with, or they change it up. There are rumors that she's supposed to be the daughter of Trini. I really do like that idea, and for a 30th anniversary, the idea of mixing up a group of Rangers from past teams and putting them together to form a fully fledged new team with this female as the leader. I'm really interested in that. I just hope I would like to see them do things outside of the normal formula that Power Rangers does. It's always been very episodic, but now that we're on Netflix, I kind of wanted to see a little bit more serialized. So give
Mhm.
me a shorter number of episodes. Um, but have each episode clearly connect and move into the next episode as well, and just tell a longer story that way. I'm sure we're going to get shorter amount of episodes. I'm not expecting a full 44 or even a full 22 episode season. So I just say, if you're on Netflix, if you've got that sort of creative freedom, really do something out of the box for the 30th anniversary, and I think something along those lines would really work for me.
And I hope that like the cameos we get in it, really hope they're not just there to show their face. I kind of hope that they actually,
Do
I
something.
hope they do
A
more like a
civilian
Go
battle.
Kaiser. Like Go Kaiser, I think did it perfectly, and I haven't even
Oh,
seen
I see what
like
you're saying.
Go Kaiser was like the first Sentai I ever saw, but even I could tell like the way they utilized the legacy characters, I thought worked because each one of them was like kind of a perfect mentor for depending on what struggle they were going through, and I like that aspect about it. Get a mentor to help them through different struggles, and I think if they wanted to do something like that with a 30th anniversary Power Rangers, that'd be cool. The other thing, this idea came from a pitch that one of the comic book writers for Power Rangers gave for an adaptation of Q Ranger. Essentially, the idea would be that a couple of the people on the team would be side characters that were in Power Rangers before, but they weren't Power Rangers. So, in other words, you could bring back Blaze and Roxy, but actually
Mm,
have them be Power Rangers
Power
in
Rangers.
this season. I
I
think
would
that'd
take that.
be a really cool idea if they wanted to do that.
That would be pretty cool. I do love me some Liana Ramirez, man. So maybe it's a possibility. Next question here from Chris Crossman. What did you love about the first Aquaman movie, and what do you want to see story wise with the sequel? First Aquaman movie. First off, shout out to Nicole Kidman, bro. I loved seeing her and her fight sequence in the very beginning with that trident. I
Mm-hmm.
was hella impressed to see Nicole Kidman move the way that she did, looking all badass as a superhero and a protective mother. I thought that was so great. Did they have Arthur at that time? I can't remember if they. I think they did. Did they have Arthur at that time? I don't think
He's like a
so.
little baby at the
Was he a
time, I
little
think.
baby?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love that opening sequence, and I'll even say the battle between Ocean Master and Aquaman towards the end. That whole ocean battle that they had blew me the fuck away, man. Like, special effects wise, I was super impressed with it. But so yeah, I really was a big fan of the first one. It's such a fun movie, great graphics, enjoyable time at the movies. I can see why Aquaman made $1 billion. As far as the sequel goes, I really want to see more Ocean Master. It feels like we're gonna get like that's sibling connection in here. It feels like, I think Aquaman maybe has to break him out of prison or get his help, sort of thing. That's a dynamic that I honestly want to see more of. I really want to see those two on screen more.
I loved it when they did that in Loki, and I'm loving it when we're seeing it in Superman and Lois between Tal Rho and Superman. So yeah, I love the idea of kind of keeping that trope going, which is like the evil brother that the good brother wants to believe is changed, but also has to constantly be on their guard because they're expecting him to stab them in the back any moment. I love that. It's just a fun story trope.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there, man. All right, so we made it through 13 emails here on today's show. So I think it's not too bad. I feel like we probably could have pushed through for a little bit more, but that's all right. So we got through 13 emails here today. If anything, Stuart will go ahead and record some answers to more questions for you guys tomorrow, and then drop them on Tuesday. So certainly look forward to that. And if we're lucky, maybe we'll get 2 sets of live viewer questions, and maybe something even tackled over on our Wednesday mid show. But we'll keep you guys posted regardless. But we definitely will be getting to more of your live viewer questions. All right, Stuart. I think with that, I think that'll wrap it up. Is there any comments left in the live chat that you kind of want to tackle before we close out of here?
There was one I think I remember, and I don't remember what the comment was. I just remember that it stuck out to me. See if I can find it.
Enrique did ask, will Warner Brothers have a special announcement at Comic-Con in July? That I don't know. I kind of hope so, but I feel like they've established their own DC fandom. To where like I wonder if people are even gonna go to Comic-Con, like San Diego Comic-Con anymore, and have these big announcements. Maybe. I hope that they will though. I hope that they will.
Okay, I found it. I remember now why it stuck out to me, not just because this person has the same name as me, but also because their question is actually, I have this prediction that I'm like 90% sure isn't going to come true, but I still want to like bring it up anyway. So for the last episode of The Flash, is season 8. We have seen that Ian Barthon is back again, but this time he's rocking a cool new costume. And we also know that it's going to be premiering around the same time as the Superman and Lois season finale. And then we also know that at one point, this could mean anything, by the way. This isn't like confirmation that there's actually a crossover in the works, but we do know that Todd has finally acknowledged the idea of Superman and Lois not really acknowledging Supergirl or the Flash that often. So he brings up the idea that, you'll get your answers by the end of the season, I promise. So what if like secretly there's a big kind of crossover event with both their season finales? And the reason Eobard Thawne has his powers back and he has a brand new suit is because, much like the main villain of Superman and Lois, Ali Alston, he was able to merge with his opposite self and thus has become not only a speedster, but a speedster with godlike powers,
I love your theories, bro. I love how you put all these connected pieces together, man. You definitely make it work for sure. We need to get you a writer's job somewhere at these,
that all being said, I'm 90% sure that's not going to happen.
Probably not gonna happen.
It's probably not, but it sounded so cool in my head that I had to get that out there.
I appreciate you sharing, bro. I appreciate you sharing. Marcelino says he thinks that Gotham Knights season 1 could be hypothetically similar to Zack Snyder's version of Superman and Batman, where it starts out as non-traditional, but then becomes comic accurate characters. It definitely could. It definitely could. But I guess my question is, like, we just had that with Naomi, and it didn't turn out too well. Are people willing to sit around for this slow burn? Also, is the teen drama and the mystery going to be there to certainly get people to patiently wait for that moment? I hope they do have some comic accurate characters, but we'll see what it turns out to be.
The reason I don't think that's the case is because we had something kind of similar with Titans, where it took a long time for like any of the characters to really get in costume or to like actually like look more like the comic book accurate Titans. But at the same time, when you look at the promotional art that they were, giving for it, that's all you would see is the people in their costumes. And it seemed, and even though that was something you rarely saw on the show, it was something that they heavily promoted with a lot of their promotional photos and the trailers.
Yeah, and that's just really non-existent here. So, yeah, so we'll see, man. And I think other than that, I think that might be it. One more here. Coder Nerd says, I loved Legends of Tomorrow. There is nothing like it on TV. It was like a funny and much better version of Doctor Who with super powered characters who break the fourth wall all the time. I guess in their little Wave Rider instead of their TARDIS, huh?
Yeah.
That's an interesting comparison. What do you think of that, though?
Yeah, I mean when the show started, that's basically what I would compare it to. For seasons 1 through 3, it was basically Doctor Who with superheroes.
Yeah.
It's just that when it got to season 4, it became way less of a superhero show and more of a comedy that just happened to star people with powers. And it worked sometimes. There were good episodes in seasons 4, 6, and 7, but I think like as seasons as a whole, they weren't that good. Season 5, though, I don't know why, but I think maybe because that was like the one out of the ones that I mentioned that actually had better episodes, more good episodes than bad episodes. But season 5 was the one where I feel like that format actually worked really well. But unfortunately, that was the only season I feel like it worked.
But yeah, I do really appreciate the comparison there. Yeah, I unfortunately fell off of Legends of Tomorrow quite some time, but I'm glad that you were a big fan of it for sure. Let's see here. I think other than that, guys, I think that will wrap it up for us. So thank you very much, guys, for everybody's participation. Remember again, going forward for live viewer questions, one email per person, and within that email, just one question, because unfortunately we are in the process of trying to play some catch up and we are getting a lot of questions at this point in time. So as of right now, feel free to submit your questions to aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, aplusopinions@gmail.com. One question a week. And feel free to email us anytime, guys. But other than that, Stuart, that's going to wrap it up for us here. But if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at TurboStew01.
Appreciate you coming through as always, Stuart. And guys, listen, if you want to follow us elsewhere, you can definitely go ahead and check us out over on our Discord forum community. If you would like to communicate with us outside of our YouTube page, our Discord forum community is a fantastic place to go ahead and do so. We've got a plethora of topics over there for you guys to talk about, not just Marvel and DC, television, movies, wrestling, sports, Power Rangers, Star Wars, whatever you guys could think of. It's definitely over there. So there is a link in the description box below. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so right up here at A Plus Opinions. Very active over on social media on Instagram, Twitter, and our main hub, which is in fact our Facebook page. That's where we post all of our news throughout the week to keep you guys up to date. So definitely find us over there to be kept in the loop throughout the week. But other than that, guys, I think that's going to do it for us here. We will be back next Saturday, Sunday. We may be back with a midweek. We'll definitely let you guys know. If not, we've got live viewer questions. We've got our Miss Marvel review, our Obi-Wan Kenobi review dropping this week also, and then definitely A Plus Hero Report next Sunday. But until next time, guys, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A plus. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.